Good afternoon and welcome to the August 20th, 2019 Pinellas County Board of County Commissioners meeting. Our invocation today will be led by our own Commissioner Ken Welch, and our Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Commissioner Eggers. Please stand.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the light of this new day, a day that you've made, and we rejoice and are glad in it. Father, we thank you for allowing us to see the sun once again. We thank you for life, health, and strength. We thank you for this beautiful community, for our state and nation. We pray for this commission, and we thank you for the responsibility you've given us. We thank you for our staff, our partners, for this community. Father, bless our decisions and our discussion today. Help us to move our community forward. We pray these and all things in your magnificent name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you very much. And guess what? Somebody's going to have to let me in and out.
Right behind.
I know I got in here. This is where I put it. Got my bag. Okay, first, we are pleased to have our National Senior Citizens Day proclamation, and I'd like to invite Anne Marie Winter, the Executive Director of the Area Agency on Aging of Pasco Pinellas, Inc., forward, and she has someone with her as well. So, Anne Marie?
Bonnie Huff, the Director of Outreach.
Okay, great. And then thereafter, the proclamation, you're going to do a presentation for us, and we sincerely appreciate that. So on August 21st, 1988, a proclamation was issued to honor the nation's senior citizens with a National Senior Citizens Day. And the United States Census Bureau estimates there are 235,248 senior citizens, 65 years of age and older, living here in Pinellas County as of 2017. And 92% of the residents indicated in our 2018 Citizens Value Surveys that they would recommend Pinellas County as a place to retire. And on April 25th, 2017, AARP recognized Pinellas County as an age-friendly community for its dedication to providing active, healthy, happy, independent lifestyles for our seniors. And Pinellas County recognizes the vital contributions of seniors as the pioneers in the development and progression of our county and their service to our country as veterans for many of them. And Pinellas County recognizes the achievements of seniors as community leaders, entrepreneurs, volunteers, and very important mentors to many of adults and children. And Pinellas County recognizes the dedication and value of seniors as role models who strive to build a better life for generations to come. And finally, Pinellas County is grateful to its seniors for their dignity, grace, and inspiration to all generations, and also to our partners with the Area Agency on Aging of Pasco Pinellas, Inc., and AARP for their dedication to help seniors live healthy, safe, and independent lives. So now, therefore, be proclaimed by the Pinellas County Board of County Commissioners that August 27th, 2019 be recognized as National Senior Citizens Day.
I'll reserve my comments to the partner presentation. Thank you so much.
Great. We'll get a picture. Commissioners?
Make sure he said you were blocked.
One, two, three. One, two, three.
Who's Blinky?
Justice.
I didn't get a chance to check the exposure. One, two, three. Okay, thank you.
He'll fix it in post.
Do you want her to use this or?
You'll just come up here. Thank you. Okay.
Morning.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, Chair Seal and County Commissioners, County Administrators, members of the staff and public. First of all, we are just so grateful that we have the opportunity to present to you today and the partnership that we have with Pinellas County. Okay, so what is an area agency on aging? Some of you may already know this because several of you have served on our board and we have appreciated your participation and engagement. And some of you may have had family members or constituents who have benefited from the services that the Area Agency on Aging and its partners provide. We're one of 622 area agencies on aging in the United States. We are federally mandated to exist, and were created as a result of the Older Americans Act at the same time that Medicare was created. In addition, we are required to exist under Florida Statute, Chapter 430. And our sole focus, our sole mission is to provide seniors with safety and dignity to live in their homes with home and community-based services and delay as long as possible institutionalization and nursing home placement. For several reasons. You're never going to meet a senior who wants to go into a nursing home. Very, very unlikely. So the quality of their life living in their home and community is much better when they're living at home. In addition, it costs the state and the federal government a lot more money to put a senior into a nursing home. The average cost for the services that we provide to seniors with our partners is about $7,000 per year. The average cost of putting a senior in a nursing home is $7,000 per month. So that's about $84,000 a year versus $7,000 a year for the services that we and our partners provide. This is our mission, to be the trusted resource to advocate, educate, and empower seniors, adults with disabilities, and caregivers that promotes independence in partnership with the community. So we can't do what we do without the partners. Although we are required to exist, we are not necessarily a service provider, so we're not making meals, we are not transporting people, we are not in their homes helping them to make meals or bathe, take their medication, but we are working with partners in the community to provide those services. We do provide a few services in-house. These are all the services that are provided through the Area Agency on Aging. The ones with the asterisk are ones that we have had experience providing ourselves. So that's a lot of services that we're providing to seniors. This is our helpline, and this is how people access our services. It's 1-800-963-ELDER, and you call that number and you're able to get assessed for the services that you need and either get on wait lists or enrolled in services. So waitlist is a really bad word, but it exists. We have more than 65,000 people on the wait list in Florida for services that are waiting to get served because of lack of funding. So where does our funding come from? 55% of our funding comes from the Federal Older Americans Act, so we are under the Department of Health and Human Services, Administration for Community Living. 40% comes from State of Florida General Revenues. We are in the Department of Elder Affairs annual budget. 2% comes from LSP, local service programs that are designated for the Area Agency on Aging, and less than 4% comes from Veterans Affairs, private donations, foundations, and we've been appreciative of the funding provided by Pinellas County. We're monitored annually, and I'm very happy to report that we have had 10 years of no findings. We are the only area agency on aging in the state of Florida that can boast that, and we're very proud of the work that our partner agencies and we do together to serve seniors. Last budget year, we were very appreciative to receive a $100,000 grant contract from Pinellas County for a home-delivered meals project. We did this for we asked for this funding for a couple of reasons. At the time, there were 965 seniors on the waiting list for food. They did not know where their next meal is coming from. When I came on the job, I found that just to be abhorrent, that seniors who had worked their entire lives with supermarkets next door, with all kinds of restaurants and availability of food, did not have enough money for food. And so meeting with Pinellas County, we convened stakeholders to discuss the issue of food insecurity and how we could come together on this issue. In addition, County Commissioner and AAAPP board member Charlie Justice was interested in understanding this issue, learning more about it, and seeing how potentially funding could be made available. So we were very grateful to receive the $100,000 grant, and we have been providing services, daily meals to 90 seniors every day. We exceeded by 15 the numbers that we thought we were going to serve because we were able to negotiate a lower rate with the vendor that we are currently working with. So a typical client calls us. He lives alone. He has no family locally. He can't drive to the grocery store or pharmacy. He's unable to do his laundry or clean his house. He can't get in the shower safely without help, so he's not bathing. He cannot stand long enough to prepare a meal, so he's eating mostly sandwiches and cereal. He's struggling to afford his medications on fixed income. He's depressed since the death of his wife. It's a very typical story of who we talk to every day. So what happens? So we're going to talk to him about the different options that are available. We're going to refer him, potentially enroll him, or put him on the wait list for different services, including transportation, homemaker, help with personal care, nutrition services, counseling, and Shine and Medicare. Here are some of the other things that we're working on, which the first one of which the county has been partnering, and that's the CASOA survey, the Community Assessment Survey of Older Adults. And we hope to be coming back to you in the next couple of months to tell you about the results of that survey. 10,000 seniors in Pinellas and Pasco were surveyed on what their needs are. And we have some interesting results that we look forward to bringing back to your attention, because we would love for the county to engage more fully on these issues with us and our stakeholders. We have a senior community health project where we work with doctors to refer seniors directly to us to assist with the social determinants of health. We do a lot of legislative advocacy. We started a Diapers for Dignity program, the first of its kind, I think, in Central West Florida. We had the first of its kind Caregiver Connect program where we did 4 sessions using Facebook so that caregivers could get information about the work that we do. We created an LLC to start working with Medicaid managed care to provide the same services that we do currently, but under another umbrella. And we've been working for the last 30 years with the for-profit community in something called Better Living for Seniors, where they help us to fundraise, give out mini grants, and have the Silver Santas program that provides 1,000 seniors living in ALFs with gifts. We do the same thing in Pasco County. Last year we served 51,723 seniors. So we serve a lot of people. The needs are great. We love the work that we do. We couldn't do it with our partners, and we look forward to greater participation from Pinellas County to help the seniors in Pinellas County. I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
Anyone?
Just have a comment. Thank you, Anne Marie, for your great work, and I want to thank Commissioner Justice for his leadership as well. You have a slide that shows your funding mix, 55% from the feds and 40 from the state.
Yes.
Just wondering, what's the trend been on that? Has that been, held steady? Has it been increasing, decreasing?
That's a great question. Thank you so much. So through effective advocacy by the area agencies on aging and the service providers, we actually have been getting an increase year on year for the last 10 years. And so legislators have been providing additional resources. Of course, that money needs to be divided in the whole state. We cover 2 counties. There are 67. So we generally get about 10% of whatever additional funds are allocated. And then we distribute those funds. We do not keep those funds in-house. We distribute those funds to the organizations that we fund to provide those services. Same on the federal side. For several years, we had level funding. Last year, we received an increase in funding, and we were able to allocate additional funds to help more seniors come off the wait list.
Great, that's good news.
Yes,
Thank
it
you
is.
so much.
Commissioner?
Thank you. Just wanted to, one, thank Anne Marie for being here. And a lot of us who've been around for a while knew Sally Granda, led the agency for a long, long time. And really, 2 years? Are we at 2 years yet?
Yeah.
And really could not think of a better person to lead the agency into the next part of what we're doing. And we had an audit yesterday to kind of tell you the financials. We had an audit yesterday that our percentage of overhead is actually decreasing. And it's not just a simple pass-through. There's a lot of monitoring and the organizations and the services that go along with that. So it's a lot of great work. And a testament to that is that the governor and the Department of Elder Affairs actually asked Ms. Winter to assist another AAA in Florida that was struggling a little bit. And so she traveled down to the other part of the state to help them get organized and get on their feet. So just doing a great job.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Well, thank you very much, and thanks for all the good work that you're doing for our seniors in our community. So we really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to present before you. And I have to give a huge shout out to Lourdes and Daisy for being awesome partners on our food insecurity project. Thank you so much to both of them.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next our partner presentation is #Pure Pinellas by Commissioner Justice.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Today we are thrilled to have a special guest with us that actually was inspired by one of those pop-up ads that we always hate on social media. But it was an article about a sale of a horse farm in Pinellas County. And we started digging in and looking and realizing that a lot of us don't understand the horse history of Pinellas. And so today we have Patty Gale with us. Patty moved to Pinellas with her family in the 80s. She's been involved in the equestrian world since a young child and has shown in many disciplines. She became a police officer for Pinellas Park in 2004. She started the Pinellas Park Mounted Patrol and then also helped start the St. Pete Police Department Mounted Patrol. She's one of 11 people in the world that has certification for Mounted Patrol training at level 3, and she's an international instructor and trainer. Her family owns a farm in Pinellas Park, and they continue to train for local units. They also own an equine rehab center, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about all of that. So, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to come, and thank you for the invite. Horses are a passion of mine, and I do a lot. I call myself kind of a liaison between the government and between the horse people, equestrians. So there's a big history. We all know JB's, the A1 Boyd, the Boot Ranch. Back in the day, that was around 1913. He had 16,000 acres. They ran a lot of horses on there. If you grew up in this area, you used to go out there. You could rent horses. You could ride them all the way up to 1998. We used to go out there. As a matter of fact, I have some of the artifacts from the Boot Ranch hanging at our farm. J.B. Starkey was another huge ranch that was a big part of Pinellas County. And that, again, the farm from J.B. Starkey, the house is actually located in Pinellas Park at one of the equestrian farms when they moved it. So that kind of built with the equestrians, and as the farms kept getting smaller, there was a lot of people who started advocating for keeping some of the trails. So a jewel that Pinellas County has that a lot of people don't realize is there's an actual network of trails that lead from Brooker Creek. You can ride your horses all through Brooker Creek. You can ride your horses through Pinellas Park. You can ride your horses all through the areas, which is something that is actually government. They take care of it, they fund it, and they keep it to where the horses can stay in the area, which then keeps your larger parcels of property in Pinellas County. We have some beautiful farms that are there. I did put some pictures up that will show you. Which one do I grab here? This is going to be your Boot Ranch back in the day. The next one, this was actually a public shopping center, and if you look behind it was all the property that adjoined to JB up in Seminole. Because of all the property, that was 50,000 acres, but this was actually a Publix and they ran their cattle in the back, and that's where they got their meat from. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. This is another one. People don't think about you go out back, get your cattle, and come back in. So this was actually the county commissioners. I don't know if you knew this or not, but there was the Cow Pony Pleasure Club, and the county commissioners of Pinellas County sponsored that club back in the day and partnered with the 4-H group. And that was this is actually one of the patches from back then, and that the county commissioners would hand out to people. Pinellas County is one of the largest 4-H groups, in the equestrian part of 4-H funded by Gainesville is located in Pinellas County. So when we represent state in Tampa, we have the largest group that goes. This here is one of the equestrian farms that he was talking about that was posted up. This is a 10-acre farm, $3.2 million equestrian farm. It holds 60 horses. This butts up to Tingler Farm in Pinellas Park. In 1998, Pinellas Park did the Trail Commission study, which I was on. So what we did is laid out a area map. Oh, I put this one in here especially. This was a Pinellas County sheriff, and he rode his horse, and I have more information on that, and I know Mr. Gualtieri is here. I thought I'd throw that in there. But anyway, in 1998, they started the Trail Commission study, which I was part of, and there was property, little over 65 acres, that was donated by Helen Howarth. She used to run the oil company that used to fill all the oils for people's houses in the area. So we wanted to keep it as rural as we could in there, and it's located in the center on 94th Avenue and 63rd in Pinellas Park. So 10 acres of that is actually an equestrian showgrounds. So we host equestrian shows there. They come from all over the place to show in Pinellas Park. There's 10 miles of horse trails that goes through that park all the way to Lloyd Tingler Park. So you're in the middle there. You can go ride. You can rent horses and ride through the parks. You can see Pinellas Park, and it's something that no other city has. This is a bigger picture of the park, and just shows you that entire area goes from I don't know if you can see it really well on there, but it shows you the two parks connecting. When we made the trail system, we actually had to incorporate people's streets and houses, because you can't just ride in the park and get from A to B. So we actually, if you go down 102nd Avenue, because the trails go from 118th Avenue all the way to 62nd. What we did is we took part of the streets, and you will see on the side of 102nd, if you ever drive down that one side of the sidewalk's much larger than the other side, that's designated horse trail in Pinellas Park. As you go down certain streets that were kind of winding in that, we actually made the easement as designated horse trail, so they could ride their horses. And we made it to where you couldn't plant anything in there, and that was designated to keep them out of the road. So that just shows you how extensive we went into it. Pinellas Park built, there was a big culvert in Tingler Park. You can see the culvert there. Built a bridge. One side's for people and one side's for horses to be able to go to the other side. So they actually built a bridge for that. Again, this is showing the 4-H. This is just a small show that we hosted. When it comes, we bring in over 100 horses to Pinellas Park when we host our shows the first weekend of the month. A lot of people come out just to see them, because you don't get to see them unless you go to St. Pete. I'll touch on that a little bit. So everybody asks me, well, they see the horses, they see the mounted patrol units and so forth. So I train the horses for St. Pete, for Clearwater. A lot of people don't realize that Clearwater has a mounted unit. St. Pete has one. I do Tampa. I do a lot of areas. But we actually train right in the streets. So if you're in St. Pete, you're in Clearwater, you're in the parks, we utilize all of those to train the horses in. It's a great experience anytime you see them, to go up and see them. This is actually the bridge, People Bridge, going to the race, the stadium, Tropicana Field, I think it's, I don't know if that's what it's still called. But anyway, we use that, we teach the horses, because in case the bad guy decides to run across the footbridge, he's not getting away, we're gonna chase him right over the bridge. So it's kind of interesting, but this is on the Dolly Museum. So this is a little bit of what we do with the horses. We patrol anytime if you're at the beaches, Binti Beach. We hosted the RNC. We used a lot of horses that were in there. So that gives you a little history of that. We have carriages that go along and ride. In developing all of the trails that we use, you will notice that we made special walks that go across the neighborhoods and so forth for the horses to walk on and the cars to stop and let them pass. This is something that you'll see in different areas, even up in the Brooker Creek area, we have some of those. The trails were designed throughout Pinellas Park so that you don't just say, hey, here's a horse trail. They're all embedded into the trees. They go in and through. So all of them are maintained by our city parks. This is another area here. The footbridge, when you go across that. We actually use Tingler Park because I do the disaster animal relief training. So we use Pinellas Park's area also for large animal rescue, hurricanes, so forth. So if there is a hurricane that hits our area, I'm the person that the government goes to and says, okay, if all these horses get loose, where are we going to put them? There's almost 4,000 horses in Pinellas County. A lot of people don't realize that. So they all have to go somewhere if people leave them behind in that. So we coordinate Helen Howarth Park specifically for that they can be housed. There's also another park in Pinellas County called Walsingham Park. It has an equestrian trail system through it and so forth. We used to have the Seminole VOAG Center, but it has been shut down, so we don't use that. Pinellas Park is now working on, they just bought a farm that we're going to turn that into a new VOAG Center. So you'll be able to have the VOAG Center there again, be able to have the kids go and see, because right now they bus them over to Tampa. So we'd like to bring that back to Pinellas. And again, these are just more of the trails that go through there in the footbridge. Oh, there's the footbridge again. But this is an ideal trail that we go through. So any time that you see the horses, a lot of people don't realize that they're here in Pinellas County. So is there any questions or?
That was great, really interesting.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize how many horses there are and the equestrians and what they do and the farms and so forth. Even Pinellas Park passed where they couldn't develop any of the property that was under 2 acres. So to try to keep a foothold with the farms.
So are you still a mounted policewoman?
I'm retired from Pinellas Park, but I still am the trainer listed for everybody. We still do those with my certification in that, so. Yeah.
That's great.
Thank you.
Well, I think, one, we just thank you for being here and
Thanks.
hearing some of that history, and people forget, but if you do get back through 62nd Avenue or 90th Avenue, you can still see the properties there that host the horses, and so Pinellas Park has made a commitment, and I think it's part of the special history of Pinellas County, so really appreciate you being here.
Well, thank you. Yeah, in that area, in 16 square miles, there's just under 1,000 horses. So it's a lot of area in there.
And Commissioner Welch, that property is still available at 3.25, so.
It is still available. Yes, it is. It's beautiful.
Hold on just a minute, Commissioner Vaughn? And
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm curious about whether or not they still have the trails out by the solid waste facility.
They do not. A lot of the trails out there by 28th Street and so forth were shut down because you could ride from Pinellas Park through those trails and end up down in St. Pete. You could
I
go
know,
all the way to
I used to
Boyd.
do it on my horses.
Yeah, you could go all the way to Boyd Hill, and they've shut all of those down.
That's a shame.
Yeah, it is. I always push for them to do the Pinellas Trail. Would be a great horse trail to do. In North Carolina, they did it through some of theirs, and I said what a great area to be able to ride down that way. So, but yeah, they don't have those anymore.
So then, without stirring up a huge controversy, do you have any affiliation with the people who bring the horses to the beach down by the Skyway?
I know them. There's no affiliation, but I do know them. There's actually two. There's a group that comes from Sarasota and a group that comes from Pinellas Park that goes to the Skyway. So.
Commissioner?
Yeah, well, when I used to have a horse, I used to go to Lutz to ride because they had barns out there. If you're in North County, say in the East Lake area, are there places still that have barns so that you can house the horse and get to a park and ride over?
There's a lot of areas still up in there, and actually Oldsmar and Odessa area is booming with the horse farms right now. Ocala is actually opening one of the largest equestrian showgrounds in the country. And it's going to have like 7 indoor arenas. It's going, R&L Trucking owns it, so it's gonna have like 7 indoor arenas, it houses 2,000 horses. So this area has actually become what they call a destination farm. So let's say you're in South Florida and you were gonna show in Ocala, then what people are doing or buying, that's part of the reason some of these farms are going up, is people are buying them because you can go show for a day and you come back to this area, stay the night, not have to motel it and so forth, and go back and forth. So we've actually become a destination area for equestrians to buy farms to lay over at.
So still, young people that want to try to do this, there's still places to train for either English or Western?
There's,
up in-
yes.
Oh, that's great.
And that's with the shows and 4-H. It's actually starting to come back around quite
Oh,
a
that's
bit.
awesome.
Yeah, it's
Good. Well,
pretty
thank
neat
you
that
for
we
everything
stay
you
there.
do.
No, thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
I'm starting to think I'm the only one who didn't have a horse. Mr. Eggers had a horse, Mr. Long had a horse.
I had several horses.
Good for you.
Yes, good
I
for
feel like I'm
me.
on a Seinfeld episode.
I learned something new today.
Absolutely.
Sure. I didn't have a horse.
You did it?
Oh, that's great.
Oh, that's what's wrong.
Oh, goodness.
I'm so sorry the devil made me say that.
Anyway, our next partner presentation, moving on, is Sheriff Bob Galtieri is here to present to us, and we're very appreciative of his expertise and time in coming today to share some information with us.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good afternoon, everybody.
Afternoon.
I wish I could tell you that, what I'm going to talk to you about in the presentation I'm going to give you today was as pleasant as the last couple of topics that you've heard, because it's not. It has to do with, at your request, just a brief, I'll say brief, in what is a very extensive investigation into what happened at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School on February 14th of last year, or as people refer to it as the Parkland shooting. I want to say as I lead into this, and I'll give you some background and some backdrop, and then we're going to go through a fairly short PowerPoint presentation, is that the things I'm going to tell you and the things that I'm going to say are applicable across the board. Some of them are findings as to what happened at Stoneman Douglas and Broward County. The comments are applicable across Florida, but I'll tell you that here in Pinellas County, we are in decent shape. We're in good shape. We could always be better than where we are today. But we're making great progress and have made great progress from where we were. The superintendent, Mike Grego, and his staff have been fantastic partners with the Sheriff's Office and with law enforcement. I had an opportunity to meet with and present to the school board a couple months ago, and I spent about 3 hours with them on this topic and giving them information. So I think we're in good shape here in Pinellas, but like every place, there's always room to do better, and unfortunately, it is unfortunate that there are places around Florida, including in Broward County, that are absolutely not where they need to be, which is kind of surreal in some respects and unfathomable in others, that the epicenter for this in Broward County is they have schools today. And I was just watching before I came over here where the school board is meeting right now because they have schools in that district that are not compliant with state law regarding school safety. So it's a challenge, and as we move forward with this. Also, the other thing I want to tell you is that I'm going to play some video, and some of it some people may find disturbing, but there's nothing that I'm going to use and play here that hasn't been played in public in the past and played many times during Stoneman Douglas Commission meetings or elsewhere, so everything is out in the public. Give you a little bit of a background with this. So why am I here talking to you about it? So February 14th, 2018 is a day for me, we all have them in our lives, that I'll never forget where I was and what I was doing when this event unfolded. And I was sitting in Washington, D.C. at a meeting of the Major County Sheriffs of America, sitting next to Jim McDonnell, who was the Los Angeles County Sheriff at the time. And he picked up his phone and he handed it to me and he said, "You got a school shooting in Florida." And I looked at it and saw that it was in Broward County in Parkland and thought to myself, well, that's bad, but it's not going to be something that directly affects or impacts me. It's at the other end of the state. It's something that will be dealt with, but probably not going to have a direct impact. Well, that was on a Wednesday afternoon. I got back here to Florida on Thursday. And by Friday, the phones were ringing across the state because Governor Scott at the time and other leaders within state government who had been down there recognized that there were problems and that there were issues with the event, the response to the event, And because there were problems and issues, they also recognized an opportunity with the Florida legislature being in session at that time. The Florida legislature only had 3 weeks left in its session. So as those phone calls started happening, the governor summoned 3 distinct groups to Tallahassee for the following Tuesday. And those were mental health, law enforcement, and schools. And those 3 groups, in leadership from the state organizations, all met in Tallahassee. We spent the day discussing it and coming up with recommendations. We met with the governor and the cabinet later that night on Tuesday. And by Friday of that week, the governor had proposals for the legislature to enhance school safety. And what happened over the next 3 weeks is unheard of in state government. And you give the legislature a lot of credit for doing a tremendous amount of work in a very short amount of time. And what the governor did and what the legislature did over the next 3 weeks was to craft a 105-page bill that we now refer to as Senate Bill 7026 that dramatically changed the landscape of school safety in the state of Florida and has made significant progress in making the schools safer. There isn't anybody that will tell you that bill is perfect, because there is no perfect in anything, of course, but nobody will tell you that bill is perfect and that there isn't room to improve on it. But it did, in those 105 pages, significantly shift the needle. One of the things that it did was to create the Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School Public Safety Commission. And the statutory directive to the commission was to figure out what happened and why, and to make recommendations about the best we can to ensure that it didn't happen again. So I was appointed to the commission. I was appointed by the governor to chair the commission. The commission met every month last year down in Broward County, and we produced a 500-page report that we submitted to the governor and the legislature on January 2nd of this year. We heard testimony during last year from over 60 witnesses, interviewed through the commission investigative staff over 300 people, and looked at tens of thousands of pages of documents. The commission has subpoena authority. Some of those documents we had to obtain by subpoena, and some of the testimony had to be compelled. It was an arduous process and yeoman's work, but we were able to get it done in very short order and did in 8 months what most commissions after an event like this take 2 and 3 years to do. So the fact we were able to get that report submitted on January 2nd was significant. One of the things that we realized is that there was further work to be done. I sat down in January with the Speaker of the House and with the Senate President, with the Education Commissioner and others, and they listened to what we said and were willing to advance a bill in this legislative session this year to continue to build on where we were. And that ended up in what we refer to as Senate Bill 7030. So the legislature this year passed Senate Bill 7030, a 55-page bill that continues down the path of making the schools safer. And probably one of the most important parts of the bill was to instill accountability pieces because there was so much non-compliance around the state. And I don't get it, to be honest with you. You know, we have a process in this country, in this state, and we have 161 people that set the policy for the state, and the 22 million of us follow it. You know, you got 40 members of the Florida Senate, 120 in the Florida House, and you got a governor. And when a bill's passed and the governor signs a law, we should follow it. We don't get to pick and choose. We don't get to say, well, we don't like it, so we're not going to follow it. But unfortunately, is that what was being done, and there's a culture of we're just going to do whatever we want. To give you just a quick idea of what I'm talking about and an example of it, is that when Governor Scott signed that bill on March 9th of 2018, it said that there shall be, not that if you like it you'll do it or you might consider it, it said there shall be a safe school officer on every single charter, elementary, middle, and high school campus in the state of Florida. It defined what a safe school officer was. And today, as we sit here, we have noncompliance. Through last year, we had noncompliance. You had lawyers who were part of the problem who were manipulating the words and not applying it as it was intended and with the spirit of the law. And when it said that a safe school officer is to be assigned, they were interpreting it and advising the school boards and the superintendents. Well, assigned, it means assigned on paper. You don't actually have to be there. So as of the end of this school year in Orange County, as an example, is they had deputies that were covering 6 schools. Because you don't have to be there, you just have to be assigned to the school. It required behavioral threat assessment teams on every campus, every charter, every elementary, every middle, and every high school. You had one school board last fall that was having a discussion. Remember, the law took effect March 9th of 2018. Okay, is that last fall they're having a discussion about whether behavioral threat assessment teams are a good idea and should we consider doing them. It doesn't work that way, and it shouldn't work that way. So that's why we had to put, and ask the legislature to put accountability pieces. And I'll give you one more example and stop, is that one of the requirements under what's called SESIR, which is SESIR, and it is incident reporting that's required on all the school campuses. And so to show you the lack of care, the apathy, and just non-compliance, and it requires that the schools report every year, and actually 3 times a year. So there is one category which in essence is batteries, somebody hitting somebody else. And there was one elementary school for last year in Alachua County, one elementary school in Alachua County, and the campus for the preceding year reported 67 batteries in one elementary school. The entire Miami-Dade School District reported 0. It doesn't work that way. So there's so many issues. And so now today, as a result of 70-30, is that if there is non-compliance with either non-reporting or under-reporting, inaccurate reporting of SESIR data as a result of 70-30, the commissioner of the Florida Department of Education has the authority to direct the school board to withhold the superintendent's salary. I think that'll get their attention. So, these are the types of things that have to be done to get people where they need to be. So, it's a little bit of the background. The commission is meeting this year. We met 3 times this year. In fact, we just met last week. Our intention is to submit another report to the governor and the legislature around October. The legislature will be back in January. It's a quick turnaround year for the legislature. So we hope to have another report out in October, November. Under law, the commission doesn't sunset until 2023. So probably to the chagrin of some, we're going to be around. And as I've said, the pressure's not letting up, and people need to get where they need to be. So let's talk about the incident itself a little bit. February 14th, 2018, Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, in 1 minute and 44 seconds on the first floor of Building 12. And think about that. It's not even 2 times around the second hand on your watch. In 1 minute and 44 seconds on the first floor, Nicholas Cruz shot and or killed 24 people. 24 people in 1 minute and 44 seconds. On the third floor of the building, he shot and or killed an additional 10 people in 1 minute and 5 seconds. So all said and told, in 3 minutes and 51 seconds, again, that's not even 4 times around the second hand on your watch, he shot and or killed 34 people. So February 14th undoubtedly changed South Florida forever. I suggest to you that it's changed school safety in Florida forever. But I also suggest to you that the change, as I've kind of talked about a little bit, and there's so much more, but in the essence of time, I stopped where I was, that there hasn't been enough change, and the change hasn't been fast enough. It's, I think, sad and somewhat pathetic that it took 34 people being shot at one of our high schools to have the effect of dramatically changing school safety. I think we have to ask the question, why did it take 34 people being shot and or killed at a school here in Florida in 3 minutes and 51 seconds to have the dramatic change that it has against the backdrop of this? Think about this. Against this backdrop is that as we stand here today, we are 20 years post-Columbine. 20 years post-Columbine. We're 6.5 years post-Sandy Hook. And we are years past other school shootings. So Sandy Hook, 6.5, 7 years ago. Columbine's 20 years ago. It happened in 1999. Why are we sitting here having this discussion today? Why are we so slow to change? Why is our memory so short? Well, I can tell you that everything through the investigation that we uncovered points to a mentality of complacency. And that mentality of complacency is largely driven by this erroneous notion is that it won't happen here. It won't happen to me. That's stuff that we hear about on TV, we see it happens in other places, and it's not gonna happen in my backyard. It's a remote, horrific event, but it isn't gonna happen here. I can tell you that that's the mentality that the people in Broward County had. I can tell you that it's the mentality that the people in Parkland had. Parkland was named by the Florida Chamber of Commerce 2 days before the event the safest city in the state of Florida. People left their doors unlocked, left their car doors unlocked. Nothing happens in Parkland. It's a residential community. If you're not familiar with Parkland, it sits in northwest Broward County. The north border is Palm Beach County, the west border is the Everglades, and south border is Coral Springs, and it's another city. But it's all residential, and nothing happens there. It's a quiet, residential bedroom community for Fort Lauderdale. And there was a lot of complacency, and that was definitely the attitude. So what that attitude resulted in throughout Broward County is this. And think about this against what I just told you, that we are 20 years, and last year we were 19 years post-Columbine, is that on the day of this incident, February 14th of 2018, the Broward County School District, the second largest school district in the state of Florida and about the sixth largest school district in the United States, had no active shooter response policy. Didn't have one and never had one. The school district had no requirement that the schools in Broward County, the 230 schools in Broward County, that they have active shooter drills. In fact, at Stoneman Douglas High School, and it's a big school, Stoneman Douglas, the campus is 16 buildings, 45 acres, 3,300 students, 200 staff. And in that campus, with 3,500 people on that campus every day, in the 1 year preceding the shooting, they had not done one active shooter drill, not one in the whole year. Apathy, complacency, nothing's going to happen here. It wasn't a priority. They had one brief training for teachers, and as they called it on Code Red, that's what they called their active shooter response, was a Code Red. And they had one training, and it was on January 17th of 2018, a few weeks before the shooting. And the Code Red portion of it was probably about 15 minutes. And that was only for staff. The students had received no training whatsoever in the year preceding the shooting. But the school district did have a policy and a program that they implemented called Promise. Now, Promise is a juvenile pre-arrest diversion program. And I think by now, I know you all well enough, you know me well enough, that I'm a very big supporter of juvenile pre-arrest diversion programs. In fact, Pinellas County leads the state with about 94% of the kids in Pinellas County are diverted for those first offenses. But it has to be done right. It has to be done smartly. It has to be done in a way that it is going to produce the right results and not produce the results that will cause harm, and not have a culture of leniency and a culture that is created where you're emphasizing that over safety. Because the Promise program that Broward County had implemented allowed students 4 diversions each school year for crimes that they committed on campus. 4 each school year before you faced a criminal charge. And they got a reset every single year on those 4 crimes. So you could commit 4 crimes as a freshman, never get charged criminally. Come back as a sophomore, commit 4 crimes, never get charged with a crime. Commit 4 as a junior and 4 as a senior before anything ever triggered. So their emphasis was on that type of mentality, that type of programming, that type of a break for all these kids. Nicholas Cruz had, during his time in the Broward County schools, and he was there until age 17 when he left, is that he had 125. Think about that, 125 documented disciplinary incidents in the Broward County Public School disciplinary system. It's a lot. That's a lot of documented incidents. So where was the school's emphasis? Well, it wasn't on preventing or mitigating an active assailant attack. In fact, the staff member who was in the parking lot sitting on a golf cart when he saw Nicholas Cruz get out of an Uber at 2:19 p.m. on February 14th and walk through an unlocked, unstaffed gate. Now think about that, is that the fence around the campus has gates. The gates are closed, but they open the gates well in advance of arrival time, like 2 hours before in the morning and like 30 minutes in the afternoon, and the gates are open and they're unstaffed. Nicholas Cruz went to school there. He arrived at 2:19. They automatically, every day, open those gates at 2:15, and there's nobody staffing the gates. He absolutely knew that, and he absolutely took advantage of it, and he exploited it, because he knew he could just walk through the gate unfettered, nobody stopping him, nobody questioning him. And there was a campus monitor, a guy by the name of Andrew Medina. And Medina was sitting in his golf cart in the parking lot, a short distance to the south of the gate that Cruz walked through when he got out of the Uber. And he was carrying, in Medina's own words, he was carrying a rifle bag. And when he saw Cruz carrying the rifle bag as he got out of the Uber, he said to himself, that is Crazy Boy, and Crazy Boy is carrying a rifle bag. That's the bag he was carrying. That's not a guitar case. That's not something that has pool cues in it. That's a rifle bag. It's got magazine pouches on the outside. It had an AR-15 in it with over 200 AR-15 rounds. And so when Medina sees Cruz, who he self-identifies as Crazy Boy carrying the rifle bag, getting out of the Uber, walking through the unstaffed gate, walking towards Building 12, what does Andrew Medina do? Nothing. Didn't alert anybody, didn't call a code red, didn't react in doing anything other than calling a buddy of his who's another campus monitor, who asked him to go and just look and see if he could find Cruz. It took Cruz about a minute and 30 seconds to walk from the gate to the east door of Building 12 when he walked in and started shooting and killing kids. And there was plenty of opportunity in there to notify others to call that code red so that others could have reacted to it. In fact, there was no communication about a problem on that campus over the school's radio or the PA system until Nicholas Cruz was already on the 3rd floor of Building 12, on the 3rd floor, was 3/4 of the way down, going east to west, and he had already shot and or killed 32 of the 34 people before the first person on that campus put voice to any communication device to alert anybody there was a problem. Why? Because there's no code red policy. They had no training, they had no drills, they were clueless as to what to do or how to do it because the school district didn't emphasize it. There was no implementation of best practices, and there was complete apathy about it. How can you have a school of that size with a whole year preceding the event, not one drill, and you had staff members like Medina? Now, Medina's got skin in this because common sense should have taken over, but he hadn't been trained. He's a very low-level employee. And nobody was alerted until it was too late for them to react. Now, I told you that on the first floor, there were 24 people shot or killed in 1:44. And I told you on the second floor, on the third floor, there were 10 people in 1 minute and 5 seconds. But Cruz was on the second floor for 41 seconds, and he fired out the windows. But nobody was shot or killed on the second floor because people on the second floor, they heard the gunshots. Not that anybody told them there was a problem. They heard the gunshots, and they were able to get low and invisible. And what that tells us is what we tell people to do works, because they were able to get into those safe areas of the classrooms, and they were able to cover door windows, and they were able to react to it because they heard the gunshots. The kids on the third floor treated it like a fire drill. And I don't have time in this presentation to show you the photographs of the video, but just trust me and put this horrific picture in your mind, is the third floor hallway was wall to wall, literally wall to wall, end to end, nothing but kids. And because they were trying to flee thinking it was a fire drill. And then as Cruz moved down the second floor, they heard the gunshots and they retreated and went the other way. But if Nicholas Cruz had arrived on the third floor at the time he arrived on the second floor, and at that point he had over 200 AR-15 rounds left, and at that point it would have been worse than Vegas. There would have been hundreds of dead kids because nobody was notified. And again, it wasn't until he was almost finished before somebody finally, and the reason why that code red was called at the end is because another campus monitor happened to come to the west door and saw, and you've heard this name before, Coach Aaron Feist. He went in to try and save kids, and as Aaron Feist was trying to go in that door, Nicholas Cruz shot and killed him, and Aaron Feist is laying dead on the ground. And when that monitor saw Aaron Feist dead on the ground, that's when he called the first code red. And it wasn't until most of the shooting, except for 2 victims, was already over with. So it was all that alert. It's too little, too late. There wasn't time for anybody to react. So there was no communication of any threat because there's no training, there's no policy, there's no drills, nothing. It's apathy. How can we have that 20 years after Columbine? It ain't going to happen here. That's happened someplace else. But we're going to give kids, four bites at the apple every year, and you're not going to you can commit all the crimes, but you're not going to get charged. And in the sophomore year, you're going to get a reset. Junior year, you're going to get a reset. So where's the emphasis? Where are the priorities? So there has to be a culture change in the schools, and a sense of urgency and a sense of accountability. So I told you a second ago, and I've said it a few times now, that Broward County Schools did not have an active shooter response policy in February 2018, and that they never had one. But guess what? The Broward County Schools did not have an active shooter response policy in March of 2018, April of 2018, May of 2018, June of 2018, and I can go on and on, because the Broward County School District, the epicenter for where this happened, did not enact its first ever active shooter response policy until the third week of February 2019. First time ever. It took them over a year after this event for that district to pass its first ever active shooter response policy. The district never had a safe area or a hard corner policy in the classrooms. They passed that policy for the first time the third week of February 2019. It was a week before I was there meeting with them and presenting to them and going through this. That's when they passed their first policies on this. That's not acceptable. I told them that. And I told every one of those school board members is that you're too slow to act, there's too much complacency, and it's not acceptable. It shouldn't take a year to do this, but this is what we're seeing. This is why there has to be a culture change, and there has to be a sense of urgency. And again, sadly, we reported last week during the commission meeting, we did a survey, and there are schools today in Florida that are not in compliance with the law and with best practices. We have to change, and there has to be the sense of urgency, and they have to get in compliance, because this is a hard thing to say. But there is one thing we know for sure, and three questions that follow that. And the one thing we know for sure is that it's going to happen again. And the three questions are: one, when; two, where. Those aren't the important questions. The most important question, I suggest to you, is the third question. And that is a question I ask myself every day, and I ask everybody else to ask yourselves this every day. Is that what are we doing differently today to drive a different outcome than what happened at Stoneman Douglas on February 14th of 2018? Because we all know the adage, do what you've always done, you're going to get what you always got. And unless we change, don't expect a different outcome. And you can't be desirous of a different outcome without doing some things differently. And importantly, is that we have to view this through the lens of not what we want, not what we like, not the way that we think it should be in the perfect world that doesn't exist, because there is no perfect world, but what is realistically attainable. We have to use objective fact. We have to use the evidence. Not what we want, not what we like, but it's what can you live with. And take it from somebody that's been in Building 12 a lot of times, probably too many times. It's still an active crime scene. Broward County Sheriff's Office still guards that building 24/7. There's a fence around it, and deputies guard it, and it's still an active crime scene. The kids' blood is still on the floor. The shoes they jumped out of as they were running out of that building are still there. And when you walk in and you see the desks that the kids were sitting at when they were shot and killed, and their work is still sitting on those desks where they were shot and killed, is that I can't live with that. And so we have to do it differently. So what can you live with? Not what you want, not what you like, not what you think, well, I don't like that, and I think it should be this way. Great, okay, but is that obtainable? Is it attainable? Is it objective? Or are we trying to get to some place that we can't get to because we just don't like it? I'd suggest to you there's nothing we all like worse than shot and killed people, especially kids. So we have to be willing to do it differently. And I'll talk a little bit more about this, and it's a big elephant in the room, and it's this notion about arming school personnel. And not necessarily teachers, but any school personnel. And people say, heck no, I don't like that. I don't want that. I only want cops. I only want cops, and I'll settle for nothing else. But remember what I said, is that you have to view this through the lens of what is objectively obtainable. What can you do? And I'm standing here to tell you that right now in the state of Florida and across this country, when I go to meetings with sheriffs and police chiefs and law enforcement agency administrators, the number one topic talked about across the country today is recruiting and retention, is we don't have enough cops. Flat out do not have enough. We did a survey in the state of Florida today. There are about 1,500 openings for police officers today in the state of Florida. We cannot fill the positions we have. There are 4,000 schools in the state of Florida, charters, elementaries, middle and high schools. And there's about 1,000 schools with no cops. So where are we going to get the 2,500 cops? Even if the legislature rained the money out of the sky and it would cost somewhere around $400 million to do it, and say money wasn't an object, we cannot do it. And I still hear people say, I only want cops, I only want cops. Well, I don't know what they don't understand. The cops do not exist, and we can't manufacture them. It's a huge problem. We have 1,500 openings that we can't fill. Where are we going to get the rest of them from? So that's an example, is we have to view this, not what we want, not what we like, but what can you live with? And as decision-making bodies across the state, is that if you don't like it and you're not willing to change, okay, is that make that decision, but do it with eyes wide open. Do it against the backdrop of the facts, knowing that if you don't change and do it differently, that you're not going to have a different outcome. And if you don't have a different outcome, don't complain about it, because what we saw down there is a result of that, and that there wasn't that change. So we have to focus on, to make this real change, we have to focus on harm mitigation. So everybody wants prevention, and that's the laudable goal, it's the right goal. We always talk about we want to do everything we can to prevent the situation. It's going to happen again. The question is when and where. You're not going to prevent it. It's going to happen again. So as we're sitting here talking about the big ticket, high dollar things that require significant funding, law change, policy change, and those things are single ingress and egress points, electronic locks for doors, the electronic camera systems, the real-time crime centers, all this big picture, high dollar stuff, is that you got to focus on the core first, and the core is harm mitigation. And harm mitigation are those things that are going to stop the event as soon as it starts. And that's got to be the goal, because I think we can all agree on this, that one person shot or killed is too many, but one's better than 34. And if it's going to start, we need to stop it right now. And so as we're talking about stopping it right now, we're talking about harm mitigation, because the prevention stuff's over here. And you have people running around talking about, well, let's go get a grant, and let's do this, and let's do that. That's great, and we should be doing that. We should focus on that. But the low cost, no cost, things that generally only require the will of a decision maker to implement are the things we should be doing right now, because you got to focus on your core. You got to focus on that tree trunk. If you start hanging a whole bunch of branches on it and you don't have a core and you don't have a trunk, it's going to fall down. And so a lot of the stuff that would make a significant difference doesn't cost anything. It only requires the will of a decision maker. And in those categories, you have to be able to do this. Identify the threat, communicate the threat, and react to the threat. So to give you an example, is that if you haven't done drills, you don't have policy, and you haven't trained, and people don't know how to identify the threat, you can have all the sophisticated communication systems in the world, but if they haven't identified it, there's nothing to communicate. And if they've identified it, but they can't communicate it, then there's nothing for people to react to. And if it's been identified and it's been communicated, but people don't have a clue what to do, then they're not appropriately reacting to it. So it's got to be identify, communicate, and react in the harm mitigation. We have schools up until the last couple weeks, and we had schools a lot last year that were fenced campuses with gates. And they finally got the word, because we finally resonated with them, is that they were putting people at those open gates, so the gates were now staffed. But guess what? They were staffed, but the people staffing the gates had no communication devices. So as I said to the Broward County School Board, because that's what they were doing when I met with them in February, they had people at the gates, but they didn't have communication devices for all those people. So what good is it? So if you got somebody standing at the gate and you see a Nicholas Cruz come through carrying that rifle bag, but they don't have a walkie-talkie or they don't have any communication device, and what they're saying, oh, we're working on it, we're trying to get funding, we're trying to get grants. Go down to Walmart and buy walkie-talkies, because there's a will, there's a way, but that sense of urgency is not there. So again, on the mitigation side, it's identify, it's communicate, and it's react. And you got to have the training, you got to have the policies, you got to have the infrastructure to do that. So we can worry about the prevention stuff later on. Let me just set the stage, and I'll get into this PowerPoint here, is Nicholas Cruz was born to a street prostitute, drug-addicted mother in Plantation, Florida. Linda and Roger Cruz, Linda was 47 years old, Roger was 62 years old. They had moved down from New York, and they adopted Nicholas at birth from his street prostitute, drug-addicted mother. They moved to Parkland. Immediately after giving birth to Nicholas, the birth mother got pregnant again, different father, and had another kid, Zachary. And the Cruzes adopted him as well. So they took both kids from the same birth mother, and they're living in Parkland. Immediately, they started to see problems with Nicholas. And they really manifested when he was about 3 years old. He was in daycare, and he was lashing out at kids, yelling, screaming, hitting, violence, all kinds of problems and issues. They put him in the Broward County Public School System. He immediately tested into ESE for exceptional student education, and it was clear that he had mental health issues, behavioral health issues, and that there were problems. At 5 years old, Nicholas found his father, Roger, deceased in bed. He died of natural causes of a heart attack. Linda tried to raise the kids, and she really had a hard time raising those kids. And Nicholas was out of control. He abused her, although it wasn't learned until after, during the investigation, that he was physically abusive toward her, emotionally abusive. He knocked her teeth out at one point, so there was a lot of domestic violence. But she was also an enabler, and probably an enabler because of the abuse. But as Nicholas was 8, 9, 10 years old, is that some of these behavioral manifestations were that he was killing a lot of animals, and he had this infatuation with killing animals. So her solution to that problem was to take him to the store and buy him airsoft guns so he could kill more animals. When he turned 18, his mother's the one that took him to the state driver's license office so he could get a state ID card and go buy real guns. So the guns he used, the AR-15, that's because his mother helped him get a state ID card so he could buy it. So she was an enabler in all of this. So there was a lot that happened in his 10, 11, 12, and preteen and into his teen years. The next most significant event, and one of the things I'll tell you is he got a lot of mental health services. It was reported in the media erroneously that the mental health system failed, that he didn't get services. This kid got more mental health services than anybody I've ever seen. Henderson Behavioral Health is the community-based mental health provider in South Florida. And they had licensed clinical social workers and other therapists at his house 2 and 3 days a week for 2 hours at a time providing services. He was getting ESE services in the school. He had weekly counseling sessions. Plus, there were private providers, psychiatrists and psychologists. So this kid was getting a lot of services. And now, did he get the right services? Well, you can have that debate, but he was getting a tremendous amount of services. The next big thing that happened is November 1st of 2017. On November 1st of 2017, Linda Cruz passed away. She died of natural causes. So Nicholas and Zachary moved from Parkland up to stay with a family friend in Lantana in Palm Beach County. He took all his stuff, including his guns, when he moved into this house in Lantana. The family friend who they were staying with saw the behavioral issues, saw the problems, saw the guns, and they told him to get out. They weren't comfortable with him staying there, so he moved back down to Parkland, and he moved in with a friend's family. And this friend of his was a kid named J.T. Sneed, and he moved in with the Sneed family. For the Sneed family, that adage, no good deed goes unpunished, certainly rings true because they took Cruz in. He had left the Broward County Public Schools. He was in the adult learning centers trying to get a GED, and he was working at a dollar store in Parkland. He was staying with the Sneeds. And as he continued to get worse, and he developed a plan, and his plan was this. On the day of his choosing, he was going to leave the Sneed house. He was going to go to a park in Parkland, and he was going to kill as many kids as he possibly could on that playground. And after he killed as many kids as he could on that playground, he was going to go to Stoneman Douglas, and his goal was to kill at least 20 people. And so on February 14th, shortly after 2 o'clock, he called an Uber, he got in the car, and for whatever reason, thankfully he didn't go to that park and kill those kids, but he did go to Stoneman Douglas. He arrived at Stoneman Douglas at 2:19, and he went into Building 12, and as I've told you, in 3 minutes and 51 seconds, he shot and or killed 34 people. After he got done killing the last 2 on the 3rd floor, he went into the 3rd floor teacher's lounge, which is the top west end of the building. He began shooting out the windows of that 3rd floor teacher's lounge in the courtyard below. And there were 900 kids in that one building that day, 900 in that one building. And it was only because the glass on those windows was hurricane-resistant glass that all those rounds fragmented. And if those rounds hadn't fragmented, this would have been worse than Vegas, because all those kids were fleeing. The ones that weren't already shot and killed, they were fleeing, and they were in the courtyard below. And those rounds fragmented. And after he tried to open the windows and couldn't, he spent 2 minutes in there firing out and tried to open the windows. He then fled. He left the teacher's lounge. He had shot and killed Jamie Gutenberg, a 14-year-old girl. She's laying on the ground. He stepped over her body. took off his tactical vest and laid his AR-15 on the ground along with his cell phone. It was in the vest, and then he fled the building. He was wearing that day a Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School shirt. He was dressed as a student, and he blended in with all the other students that were leaving. He went to the Walmart to the west. He went into a Subway, sat there, and drank a soda. After he drank the soda, he went a couple miles south to a McDonald's. And he had shot in the school Maddie Wolford. Maddie's brother John was sitting in the McDonald's waiting for a ride from his mom. And Cruz sat down with John Wolford and just had a conversation with him, just like we're having here. Asked for a ride, and the Wolfords declined. And so Cruz left and went to walk in a neighborhood down in Coral Springs. And there was a Coconut Creek police officer who had been at the school, and we're not going to get into it here, but the lack of supervision and command and control, he was frustrated. So he decided just to go check the area and see if he could find anybody matching the description. And this Coconut Creek police officer happened on Nicholas Cruz, and that's how he got arrested. So I told you what his plan was, and let's hear in his own words, because he left his cell phone on the third floor landing. And we did a forensics analysis, digital forensics analysis of that cell phone. And there were all kinds of self-videos, all kinds of internet searches, all kinds of notes, all kinds of photographs, and just a plethora of information that was in that phone that he left. He took this self-video 3 days before the shooting. This is one of three. I'm only going to show you one. And this is the self-video. Now, he did not transmit this video to anybody. This is a video that he took, and it stayed on his phone until it was uncovered of the search of the phone when he left it on the stairs. So this is a video he made of himself 3 days before the shooting.
Hello, my name is Nick, and I'm going to be the next school shooter of 2018. My goal is at least 20 people with an AR-15 and a couple tracer rounds. I think I can get it done. Location is Stone Douglas in Parkland, Florida. It's going to be a big event. And when you see me on the news, you'll all know who I am. You're all going to die. Pew, 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 pew. Yeah. Can't wait.
So I've watched that video 50 times, and it's still eerie every time I watch it. And it's one of three he made in a couple days. So he told us what his plan was, and he pretty much effected it, as I told you. He fired 136 rounds, 6 minutes and 4 seconds total in the building. And I've broken it down by four for you previously, including that 2 minutes that he spent in the third floor teacher's lounge trying to take up that sniper position. So again, 24 on the first floor, 10 on the third floor, and tried to take up that sniper position. So he came close. 14 students, 14 kids deceased, and 3 staff members. One of the things that anybody who's looked at these incidents will tell you, now, it doesn't matter whether it's the U.S. Secret Service Behavioral Threat Assessment Center, the FBI Behavioral Analysis Unit, or other commissions that have looked at these shootings in the past. We can't have what we want. And what we want is a crystal ball. We want to know who the next shooter is going to be so we can stop it. But there is no probative, useful set of indicators that is going to tell us if you have these behavioral indicators that this kid is going to be the next school shooter, or the converse, if you don't have these indicators, you're safe and you're out of the woods and don't worry about that person. That doesn't hold true at all. The threat assessment process is very important, but there is no definitive set of indicators. But what we do have is history to tell us on the harm mitigation side what we should emphasize and where we're going to have the greatest successes in trying to mitigate, perhaps prevent, but certainly mitigate the harm from these events. So what the commission did is we looked at over the last 20 years. And over the last 20 years, there were 46 targeted K through 12 attacks on schools in the United States. And think about this, is that in those 46, and 43, which is almost 94%, 43 out of the 46 were committed by insiders. That's a current or a former student. So as decision makers, and as we're looking at what to prioritize, what to emphasize, and what is going to give us the biggest bang for the buck and affect the best in school safety, what's that tell us? It tells us all this discussion and all this talk about fences and single ingress and egress points and all of those, they're not going to make a hill of beans difference. Now, that doesn't mean we shouldn't do it. We should. because having secure campuses and having physical site security is important. But when you have to prioritize and you have to make now decisions, in 43 out of 46 of these incidents, it was committed by an insider who's authorized to be where they were at the time they did it. So having single ingress and egress and having fences and having gates and having, it ain't gonna matter, because they were authorized to be where they were at the time they committed the act. The next thing we know in the majority of these, they're committed by people with handguns. Not long guns, not ARs, not rifles, but by handguns. So what's that tell you? It means it's committed by somebody who's not only authorized to be where they are at the time that they commit the act, is that they're using a weapon that is easily concealed and quickly produced. So that means that they're authorized to be where they are. You're not going to keep them out. And at their will, at their time, at their decision, they're going to take out that gun and they're going to start wreaking their havoc. The next thing we know for sure in the majority of these is they're all over with in less than 4 minutes. And the next thing we know for sure is that the absolute majority of these events aren't stopped by cops. The absolute majority of them are stopped by school personnel. Why? Because the schools are no different than the communities in which we live. They're microcosms of the community, and cops can't be everywhere all the time. So that's why in the majority of this, which takes us back to the question, which I'm going to briefly talk about and then move on. It talks about this whole notion about arming school personnel. And this really does disturb me. It really does. It upsets me greatly because there's such a false narrative about what I have said and about what the commission has said. I have never said we should, quote, arm teachers. Never said that. Is that what I have said is based on the facts that having one cop on every campus is not enough. Now think about what I told you on that campus. That campus is 16 buildings, 45 acres, 3,500 people on that day. And we can have a discussion all day long about the SRO, about Scott Peterson and what he was and what he wasn't. And there's a lot of bad things to say about him. And I could use a lot of colorful adjectives that I won't about his incompetence. And of course, he's been criminally charged. But think about this. From the time that he was first notified, and he was in the administration building, in Building 1, by the time the only cop on that campus, the only good guy with a gun, got from his office to where he was to the east door of Building 12, and he heard gunshots. And he should have gone in, he didn't. And he fled to a place of personal safety. But by the time he got there, just to make the decision about going in, and he didn't, what he should have done, there were already 23 people shot or killed by the time he got to that door. And what he heard, the shots he heard Aaron Feist being killed. Now, he should have gone in and confronted the killer and tried to kill the killer, and he turned around and ran away, but that's a different topic. He didn't even get there. But prior to Scott Peterson getting there was a guy who got there, and his name was Chris Hickson. And Chris Hickson was the athletic director and a coach at Stoneman Douglas and also a campus monitor. Chris was a 20-year Navy veteran, former military police officer, concealed carry weapon holder. And Chris was told that there was shooting going on in the building. He heard the gunshots, and being unarmed, Chris Hickson decided he was going to go try and save some kids. And Chris Hickson walked into the west door of first floor of Building 12 as Nicholas Cruz was straight ahead, and they'd come through the east door. When Chris walks through the door, and this is all on video, and when Chris walks through the door, Nicholas Cruz shoots him. And Chris Hickson falls to the ground, and he crawls across the hallway into an alcove. And Chris Hickson's laying on the floor in that alcove, shot and unarmed. And Nicholas Cruz is making his way east to west. And there isn't anybody, including Chris's wife Debbie and anybody that knows Chris, that has said that if Chris had a gun, he would have tried to defend himself and protect himself and those kids and try to kill Cruz. But he didn't have a gun, so he's laying there on the ground, shot. And when Nicholas Cruz passed by Chris Hickson, he turned that AR-15 on him and he executed him. On the third floor, Ernie Raspersky, who's a history teacher, he had 12 kids in the hallway. Nicholas Cruz had an empty gun in that building. Think about this. He had an empty gun in that building 5 times because he reloaded, because those magazines were not high-capacity magazines. In fact, the first kids he shot on the first floor, he only had 6 rounds. And on the third floor, and it's all on video, and I've counted it, he had an empty gun for 8 seconds on the third floor. Think about that. That's probably like 3 seconds. 8 seconds. And Ernie Raspersky's there with those kids, and you get the kids out. But if somebody had been there like an Ernie Raspersky and he had an empty gun for 8 seconds, and that was before the last 6 people were shot, somebody could have taken him out. So all I've said, and all the commission has said, is the reality of it is that one person's not enough. and 2's better than 1, and 3's better than 2, and 4's better than 3. And nobody has ever said, congratulations, here's your teaching certificate and here's your gun. And what the media has created, and unfortunately, and I've said this before publicly, this isn't the first time, is I sat there and listened to members of the Florida House and Florida Senate debate Senate Bill 7030 this year on the floor, is some of them flat out didn't tell the truth. Some of them flat out misled people and caused this hysteria with their hyperbole and their nonsense because they're talking about, oh, we're going to arm teachers, we're going to arm teachers. No, we're not. No, that's not what we're talking about. There's no advocacy for that. What it is saying that one person's not enough. 2's better than 1, 3's better than 2, and 4's better than 3. And if you have people who want to do it, who are school employees, whether you're a counselor, a coach, an athletic director, a Chris Hickson, an Ernie Raspersky, or whoever it is, if you want to do it and you want to subject yourselves to a rigorous background process, because that's what Florida law requires, let's be honest about it, is it requires the same screening criteria that police officers get. You have to go through a full field background, a psychological, we do a polygraph, a drug screen, all that stuff. We do all of that. And just because you ask to do it doesn't mean you're going to get to do it. And then you got to go through rigorous training. And in Florida law, it requires these people who are going to be guardians, it requires them to qualify to get out of the guardian training at a higher percentage than police recruits are required to qualify within the police academy. It requires them to shoot more rounds tactically than police recruits are required to shoot in the police academy. And it's shoot, don't shoot, it's weapon retention, it's fragmentation drills, it's all of those things to make sure that it can be done effectively and safely. So when people say, oh, I don't like that because I want them to be as well qualified, in fact, you can make the case they're better qualified because they have to qualify at higher percentages and shoot more rounds and do more things than police recruits have to get out of the police academy. So go back to, it's not what we want, it's not what we like, it's what can you live with. And if you got a Chris Hickson who wants to do it and wants to go through all of that, why shouldn't he be able to protect himself? And that's all we've said. So, and 2's better than 1. And if you're on a high school here in Pinellas County, whether it's Countryside or Gibbs or whatever the school may be, if you have somebody who wants to do it, is that you have 2 or 3 as opposed to 1, well, we're better off for it. Nobody's ever suggesting. And the stereotype that they created is this, is you picture the elderly librarian sitting in the library with these big thick glasses on with a big old Glock sitting on the table next to her. That's not what we're talking about. Never have. I don't care if one teacher is ever armed. But what I am saying is that you need a pool of people. If you want to make a difference and you want to mitigate the harm and you think that 1's better than 34, then you go back to, okay, well, I don't like any of that and you haven't made your case and I'm not persuaded by this at all, but I want cops. Remember what I said, they don't exist. We have 1,500 openings today in the state of Florida, so you can't have your cops. So what do you want? Well, I don't like it and I don't want to do it differently. We'll just have the 1. Okay, that's good, that's fine, but don't expect a different outcome. So that's what that whole issue is. And when people get up there in the media, in the headlines, where they say, you know, I was advocating arming teachers, that's nonsense. I'm not advocating arming teachers. What I'm saying is that give people a fair opportunity to protect themselves, and let's call it what it is. So that's that issue, and it is, you know, the big, always the elephant in the room. And when I heard people on the floor of the Florida House and the Florida Senate just erroneously stating this issue this year, it's just wrong because it's causing people unnecessarily to have fear. So moving on here as we wrap this up, the U.S. Secret Service probably coined this term of leakage. There were 80, in those prior incidents, 81% of those incidents, somebody knew something. And so what we found and what the Secret Service has found is that these people are going to commit these acts is they tell somebody ahead of time. And they tell them either directly or indirectly, or they, with their behavior, they have indicated it. The key is we got to get people to report the information. It's not just a cliche, see something, say something's important. We need people to come forward. The Broward County Sheriff's Office had prior contacts with Cruz that was widely reported, but there were really only 2 of those prior contacts that really meant anything. And one was a post on Instagram that I'm going to get this gun when I turn 18 and shoot up the school. The deputy didn't handle that appropriately, didn't write a report on it, and that was back in 2016. 2017, a family friend reported he's a Columbine in the making and a threat to himself. Now, if you follow these dates at all, and I've thrown a lot at you, November 30th of 2017, of course, is after November 1st. November 1st, his mom died, and on November 30th of 2017, he's living in Palm Beach County in Lantana. And so the deputy from the Broward Sheriff's Office that got that call from this person that said he's a Columbine in the making and he's a threat, looked and found out that Cruz was living in Palm Beach County, and he did a not me, not it. He's not in Broward County, and just dismissed it and didn't do anything with it. So the next thing that happens here, as far as agencies, the FBI dropped the ball on this. The FBI also received 2 complaints. One in September of 17, and Cruz had posted on YouTube, "I'm going to be the next school shooter." It went into the FBI's call center in West Virginia. They did nothing with it. They didn't send it out for a field investigation. They dropped the ball and did nothing with it. January 5th of 18, the FBI gets another call about Cruz disturbing behavior and going to be a school shooter. The same caller on that January 5th, 2018 call to the FBI is the exact same caller that called the Broward Sheriff's Office on November 30th of 17. That's not good. And when you have citizens that are out there reporting this information, and when she reported it to Broward, they dropped the ball, nothing happened. So she calls the FBI in January, and they did nothing with it. Now, to the FBI's credit, they recognized they had voids and deficiencies. They totally retooled their entire call center process in West Virginia. They gutted it and rebuilt it and put supervisory review and accountability processes. And really, I give them credit for handling it the way these things should be handled. They accepted responsibility for it, acknowledged their deficiencies, totally tore down the process and rebuilt it. And so they're stronger for it and better for it. So the FBI, others could learn from how the FBI handled it in accepting responsibility. But nonetheless, the ball was dropped. So on his phone that we found, to give you an idea of some of the things that were on there, again, this is the digital forensics search of Cruz's phone, is that he had researched prior school shootings, of course obsessed with guns, homicidal thoughts and their images, dead and tortured animals, a lot of pornography, and he had the school schedule at Stoneman Douglas. He had also queried on the internet about how long it takes a cop to show up at a school shooting, is killing people easy, rape caught on video. Remember what his plan was. And he took notes and entered notes, typed notes on his phone. Remember, his plan was to go to a park, kill as many kids as he could, and then go to Stoneman Douglas and kill at least 20. Those last 2 quotes come from the notes section of his phone. Basketball court full of targets, still thinking of ways to kill people. I don't want to kill, but I don't know. I want to kill, but I don't know how I can do it. Walk to a park, get someone to pick me up. I just don't know anymore, but it'll happen soon. He had a lot of hate toward minority groups. He had a lot of photographs on there of him holding rifles, dead animals, and trigger placement on a gun for your finger. And this is just a small snapshot of what was on his phone. A whole bunch of people knew stuff that they didn't bring forward. As we identified in the investigation, at least 30 people that had information where there was that leakage. And we divided them into these categories: 7 about animal killing, 19 about firearms, 8 hatred towards groups or individual people, 11 desire to hurt or kill, and 3 specifically had information about him shooting up a school that they never brought forward until after the incident, and it wasn't uncovered until the investigation last summer. 2 kids did bring information to a school administrator at Stoneman Douglas, and he totally failed to act on it, and that was in December of 2016. And that's really hard, because there's a 15 and 16-year-old boy that brought information to an assistant principal and said they were so concerned about Cruz and so concerned that he was going to be a school shooter. And the only thing that the assistant principal did is tell these 2 boys, go Google autism, and he threw them out of the office. Now, the Broward County School District has conducted an internal investigation regarding that assistant principal that's still ongoing. It's supposed to be concluded by this fall. But it's terrible that 2 kids, and we all know how hard it is for young kids like that. You take a 15 and a 16-year-old, they have the will, the gumption, and the fortitude to walk into an assistant principal's office, and the assistant principal blew him off and told him to get out, and he didn't do anything with it. There's a problem. This is one of those videos. This has all been public before. We've played it several times publicly, but it gives you an idea as to what the kids were experiencing. This is one of the first classrooms where the shooting was ongoing in Building 12, and this is what the kids were experiencing in Building 12 as Cruz first began to shoot. So again, there's tons of it, but that's just one of, gives you an idea as to what the kids were experiencing in those classrooms. This next one is the first entry team from the Coral Springs Police Department that went in to rescue the kids when the first rescue element went in. And this is classroom 1213. And this is video as to what they saw and the officers saw when they went into that first classroom. The blurred out images on the floor are deceased kids, they're blurred out, but you'll see what the officers did when they went in.
All right, guys. 3 down, 3 injured. Is anybody injured? Yeah. Shot. Where? Come here. Can you come up? Can you walk? Where were you shot? I need help. I need help. Somebody help. Yeah.
Logan, my desk with my water bottle. Can you get my phone? With the bag, with the water bottle next to the balloon. Yes.
Let's go. Come on, follow me. Okay, please.
Where?
On the wall. Go.
So, over the last several months, I've done a version of this presentation many times around Florida for school boards, school administrators, teachers. Did it up in Escambia County. The superintendent had the entire district there, 600 people. Again, law enforcement, EMS, and here in Florida and other places, trying to, and the full presentation takes about 3 hours, but it gets the information out and hopefully will make a difference. And I just ask everybody to keep in mind is that harm mitigation is what the focus needs to be. Identify, communicate, and react. And it's not what you want, it's not what you like, but what can you live with? And I can't live with that. And that's why we are doing what we're doing. That's why I'll continue to do what I'm doing to drive a different outcome. And the commission's work will be ongoing through 2023 to ensure that we get Florida in the best possible place and get it where it needs to be. So happy to answer any questions that you have.
I'm rarely speechless, but I am. Thank you very much for all you've done and continue to do, and we're very appreciative.
Yep, thanks.
You know, you've done an outstanding job from the first day, so thank you. So this is all school, and I know you're focused on school, and that's been what you've been tasked for, but the last 2 shootings weren't in schools. The last 2 shootings were in the community. I can tell you here, as far as I know, we've never had a drill, at least since I've been here in 8 months. You know, in a mall, in a, I know you're focused on school, but, and I know we're trying really hard to address mental health. You've kind of, I understand psychotic behavior, and I understand that he should have been identified a long time ago as a psychotic behavior. And I know we have to do more when it comes to the mental health stuff, because in every mass shooting, except for one, there's always been a history of mental health. So I know we've got to address that better than we're doing nationwide. However, what do we do in the community? What do we do in a mall? What do we, what do you do at a rec center? What do you do when you're at the park?
Mm-hmm. So, we live in a different world. It's just that simple. And the best thing that people can do and the average person can do is to be situationally aware, to think about if something happens, what they are going to do and how they're going to react. And they really have 2 choices in a situation when it begins to unfold. And those 2 choices is to run or to hide. And that is to get away or to get yourself in the safest possible place. And I mean, this is tough, and last week, I have a 14-year-old daughter, and she started school last week. And she left for school, and she had all her electronics like all the kids do, and she had a tablet, paper tablet, not like tablet. And we asked her, Lauren, what are you doing with that tablet? Why are you taking that tablet? Because I'm going to write down in every class where the hard corner is in every classroom, because I don't want to get shot. So, that's what it's coming to is that you have to be situationally aware, and you got to think, And you got to think that if I'm at the park and I'm sitting here watching my kids, if something bad happens, what am I going to do? How am I going to react? Okay, if it happens here, I'm going to take the kids and I'm going to run this way, or I'm going to make myself as small and as low as invisible as possible. So the whole point in all that is you have to have a plan. And it's what cops do. I remember, as a deputy on the street, you're sitting at an intersection and you're thinking to yourself, okay, if a call comes out right now and it's an armed robbery at that store, this is what I'm going to do, here's where I'm going to go, and here's how I'm going to react to it. So people really only have two choices, unless they're armed, and if they are armed, if they choose to do it, which isn't always the best thing to do. Sometimes it's not. But if they're not, then they have two choices. But you have to think it through, and you really have to have a plan. So if somebody walks through that door right now, the safest place, and by the way, and I didn't tell you this, but Nicholas Cruz never went into any room in Building 12. He never went into any room at all. The only people he shot were people that were in the common areas, that were in the hallways or in the classrooms, and he only shot through the windows. If you ever have the, I don't know what the right word is because it's not opportunity or chance, but if you ever view the mosque shooting for New Zealand, is that shooter, this isn't just a coincidence, is that shooter there, he passed by many closed doors. He just went to the common area. That's what Cruz did. So as an example here, the safest place in this room, if somebody's shooting from the outside, unfortunately, is not where you are. The safest place is over there in the hard corner. So identify those hard corners, identify those safe areas. And a lot of it's going to depend where the threat is. If there's windows in that wall and the threat is coming through that wall, the safest place is going to be on the floor underneath that if you can't get out of here. So you really have to have a plan, and you really have to, and this is what gets back to identify, communicate, and react. And then that reaction component, that reaction element, that's why policies are important and drills are important. Because if you don't have a plan, you're not going to react. We all know in training it's muscle memory, and you're going to do how you train, and if you don't train, you're not going to do. So that's really what it comes down to. There's really no magic, but being prepared and having a plan.
Yeah, well, first of all, Bob, I really can't thank you enough for, the additional service that you and your commission have taken on this past year, and certainly in the next 2 or 3 years that are coming. That was just powerful, and I know you're trying to make the point about us being aware and doing the things that you've suggested. You've always been the person that tells it like it is, and I think that I'm really proud of you being our sheriff and the work that you've done. As it relates to Pinellas County, how do you feel? I know you said some general comments in the beginning. I'm thinking about more than one in each school, mitigation plans. How's that evolving? How's that working? As far as you can get into it.
I think overall, like I said, I think that the school board and Dr. Grego and his staff have absolutely made a commitment and are doing good work, and we're working very collaboratively. I meet with him regularly. I talk to him regularly, and I think that we're ahead of others. And I'll say to you and say to anybody watching in the public here today the same thing that I said to the school board. Is I really wish they would give some consideration to putting us in a situation where we have 2's better than 1, 3's better than 2, and 4's better than 3. And to take some of those coaches or take some of those principals, not even teachers, put that second or third gun on that campus and do it in a smart way, because I know that is our biggest area of vulnerability, because you're not going to stop it. It's going to happen. And if you take any one of these schools, these big schools, whether it's Countryside or Clearwater or Gibbs or Boca Ciega or whatever it is, that cop is not going to get there in time, is not going to get there in time before you have a whole bunch of casualties. And we know from the history, we know that it is school personnel that stop these things. So, as far as if my decision, and it's not, and I understand that, and I respect that it is their decision, and I respect their right to make that decision, but that's probably where I disagree the most with them, is I really think that they should reconsider that, and even limitedly, that 2 versus 1 and 3 versus 2. As far as the rest of it's concerned, we're moving ahead with behavioral threat assessment teams, the Florida Safe School Assessment Tool for physical site security assessments, for the Guardian program that is in place with the charters and with the elementary schools. I think that we are where we need to be, and we're moving in the right direction.
Any indications about the see something, say something? I think it was what do they call it, the Sandy Hook program, where do you see upticks in that, or people are saying more, or is that being trained enough, or that kind of thing? 'Cause, I think you need both.
We do, not enough. So last October, middle of October, the state of Florida developed and unveiled the Fortify Florida app, which is an anonymous reporting app statewide. Now, when school ended this year, it was very underutilized. When school ended this year statewide, there had only been about 1,000 tips reported, which is very low. But is that, like here in Pinellas and other districts, is they aren't only using Fortify Florida, they're using their own app, and Sandy Hook Promise is one here in Pinellas. So Dr. Grego and I did a public service announcement. It aired on TV. We'll probably try and air it again. We got to get the word out to these people, not just the kids, but the people, that there are anonymous reporting platforms. And so we're not getting enough information. We need people to report more information. That is right up at the top of the list of the important things that can be done. And then, but again, we got to react to it properly when it's reported to us. I can tell you that we're prepared to do that here in Pinellas, but we got to react to it appropriately and getting people to report that information. So I don't have data for you on the Sandy Hook Promise. Again, the school year's just started. We'll work with the school board and look at that, but we need to really get the word out to people to see something, say something, report more.
Well, I really appreciate, again, what you've done, and I'm sorry that you and the commission have had to live through this, because I know I'm sure you've gotten into the weeds big time, but thank you again for what you've done.
Yep, you're welcome.
Commissioner Welch?
I'll just echo Commissioner Eggers' comments. I would add, and thank you for your leadership not only in this state but nationwide on this issue. You mentioned some counties not being in compliance. Other than the Guardian issue, is Pinellas fully in compliance as compared to Broward or other counties?
Yes, I don't want to be careful in saying that because there's a bunch of different areas, and I just want to make sure as I think about that. But yes, everything is in compliance, but I also want to just add the caveat: just because we're in compliance doesn't mean there's not work to do. So,
can always get
but as far and some substantial, I think one of the areas that we have the greatest opportunity to actually affect change and to drive a different outcome, but also the greatest opportunity to do it better, and we're working on it, is with the behavioral threat assessment teams. I really think that those teams, and the state just rolled out August 1st, a statewide validated behavioral threat assessment instrument, and we're going to do a pilot with the school board where we are going to assign 2 deputies with 2 mental health professionals in a pilot area, North County, to deal specifically with these kids with mental and behavioral health issues, as opposed to the SROs and the school administrators and others trying to do it ad hoc. So Dr. Grego and I are going to team up with that. It's going to start in October, and then they're going to work with the behavioral threat assessment teams. One of the things the Pinellas District has done, which is unique and is a good thing, they have behavioral threat assessment teams in every school as required, but they also have a higher level district-wide threat assessment team, and we're doing another pilot where all of the information that is needed for the team is I've assigned analysts within our intelligence-led policing section who are going to do all that work for them. Because one of the potential holes, is the threat assessment team meets, but they don't have all the information. If you don't have all the information, then you can't make the best decision. So we want to make sure all that's covered. So we're working hard in that direction. But the answer to your question is yes, there are some areas where we need to do some work, but everything that needs to be done is being done.
And coming out of the legislature, we have already implemented the equivalent of a red flag that's being talked about nationally. We already have done that, right, and funded you to do that.
We have, and you all funded that, which is greatly appreciated, and it's working very well. Pinellas is right up there at the top and leads the state of Florida in risk protection orders, these red flag, as you will, the red flag law. I know it's made a difference. I know it's kept things from happening. Bad things from happening. The courts have issued almost 400 of them since we began it. We have a dedicated unit with a sergeant and 4 deputies plus a dedicated lawyer. We're doing them for the entire county. It's working very well. In fact, I had a conference call earlier this morning with members of the U.S. Senate as they're looking, and one of the things that may come out of that, would be nice of the federal government, is maybe they'll give us some money to help implement these. But I've done a lot of interviews in the last couple of weeks, and I can tell you that Florida got it right. in that. And I can tell you that Pinellas County got it right, and thanks to the help of you all, because I don't know of anybody in the state that has as much of a dedicated emphasis on the risk protection order process as Pinellas, with dedicated personnel, dedicated lawyer, one agency doing it for the whole county. And the thing that tells you we're doing it right is that since we submitted these to judges, there's only been 4 that judges have denied, which means we're vetting them on the front end and we're looking out for people's due process. And so it's going very well.
Thank you. Thank you for your leadership.
Yep. So I appreciate it. Anybody, we're good? Okay. All right.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks.
Okay, we have consent agenda next, and that's items 5 through 16. Does anyone wish to have anything pulled? Okay, then I'll ask for a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Eggers and a second by Commissioner Justice. Have the voting ballots, please. Okay, unanimous decision. Moving on to the regular agenda, item 17 is the interlocal agreement with the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office for the airport.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Long, second by Commissioner Welch.
I guess Barry may have had something to say on that.
I'm sorry?
I guess the administrator may have had something to say on that.
Did you want to?
No.
I did it, didn't I?
As long as it gets approved, I'm good.
I know. Okay. Unanimous approval for that. All right, Mr. County Administrator, your turn.
Item number 18 is fiscal year 2020 elite event funding recommendations from the Tourist Development Council.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Welch, second by Commissioner Justice. All those in favor, we'll open the voting ballots. Okay, unanimous approval. Great, thank you. Agenda item 19.
Agenda item 19 is the Fifth Amendment to the agreement with Birdsall, Voss and Associates for tourism marketing services. Again, this is a bridge. They're going to go out to RFP this next year.
You have a question?
Yeah, just, Barry, if you could just summarize real quickly what, and I think through your leadership on the TDC, what kind of things we've got in place for watching the accountability of this kind of, the marketing.
I'll ask Paul Sacco to
Okay.
come up and give you a specific
That would be
outline
great.
for that.
We do.
Yep.
Good afternoon, Paul Sacco, Interim Director at the CVB. So we've pulled really tight on this contract. Anything that's not strictly in the scope of services in the original contract is not being done. There were some instances where that was being done. It was a little bit looser than we would probably have liked, but that has been tightened up. From a reporting standpoint, what's coming out of this is a task order contract. So any tasks that are being completed or assigned, they come back, they're actually tracked. It has been presented to the TDC in the last budget workshop that we have. And then we move forward with the subcommittees that are being placed. There's one, I think in September,
The
that's
next in
coming up.
September.
We'll be reporting out on that again, and the marketing would be reported. We're looking at quarterly for an update, both on the digital side as well as the BVK contract that's here.
And in the budget session, we almost did a line item by line item kind of review.
That's great.
That's a follow-up that was new implemented where you have both a marketing committee and a finance committee under the TDC.
Yeah.
Which I formed.
Yeah. Thank you.
But because we've given direction of things that we want to look at, and so because of the budget being presented and accomplished, we've then decided to wait till September to kind of keep moving forward. So after the
Okay.
TDC meeting in September, we'll have subcommittee meetings.
I think that's great. This is a big budget, and it's got like you said, it's got the chance to be pretty loose. And I think having all those folks that sit on that TDC and have some input on this, they're working with it every day. So I think this is a great move, and I really am glad we have this oversight now. Thank you.
The entire TDC was very pleased about the budget session. And really gave a lot of good input. So Commissioner Long?
Yeah, I was curious because some time ago, we had asked for a study or a report on the sports complex.
I believe
Where
it's
are-
underway. I talked with Tim Ramsberger about it not too long ago.
The RFP is currently out on the street to select a firm that would actually be doing that study.
Oh, so we haven't started it then?
No, we're in the process of selecting a firm that would do that study.
Any other questions for Paul? Thank you again
Thank
for
you.
leading that department. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Eggers, second by Commissioner Justice. Okay, unanimous. Moving on to agenda item 20.
Agenda item 20 is a grant award from the U.S. Department, or the U.S. Economic Development Administration for the construction of the Tampa Bay Innovation Center Incubator. The grant is a little over $7.4 million, requires a $4.5 million local match, of which they're working on, and so we're excited to have this opportunity.
Move approval.
Question.
You have a question?
Yeah, if you don't
Okay, Commissioner Welch made a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Long. A question by Commissioner Eggers.
Yeah, we talked about it on Thursday. Could you, again, let us know how the topside construction numbers are going to be held in place and where the risk is for that? This project has a potential to be really special, but on the other hand, we don't want to lose control of the construction costs. So wondering how we're going to make sure that we're.
Sure, and I'm going to ask Mike Midell to come up. I will tell you that the $4.5 million, that is the match, that needs to be a combination of all funding sources. And so that's something that's kind of the next phase. Before you could really begin that process, we had to get the federal money. And so this kind of is the beginning point for that project. But I'll let Mike speak to it
Absolutely.
specifically.
Yeah, definitely. Just to speak to that a little further, we don't intend to use county money for that and the full amount of that 4.5. We're going to do everything we can to pull money from the state legislature, to pull money from the private sectors, partnerships and sponsorships in this facility. But the amount, $12 million is to build the shell building. It does not include any equipment or furnishings in the building. So we will have to definitely raise money for that opportunity, and that will be at least $1 million, probably between $1 and $1.5 million. And we will go back to the legislature for another ask for that, and also look at private sector sponsorships. But that will be, 3 years down the road right now. So we're looking right now at the construction cost. And the EDA requires us to have a competitive bid to design the building, and then take that design and competitively build the construction. So it has to be in that order. It can't be a design-build combination. It has to be two separate things, has to be competitively bid. And we can structure it to be whatever we want to do it on the construction side, the construction costs, put a maximum allowable cost on there when we develop that contract with the construction firm.
And those funds aren't available. Those funds that we have right now, they're not available for FF&E. That would all have to be separately raised. That 12 million.
The 12 million.
Yeah.
Yes, the 12 million is what we need to build the building.
Okay.
So yes, that would not include the equipment.
But to your point to capping that construction cost, there's a lot of construction methods as we get into this. That'll be the way in which we manage that controlled cost. Once you get a design, you can always put like if you do it in a certain construction method where you have a guaranteed maximum, so you put a construction manager at risk and things like that to ensure the delivery at the outcome that you're predicting.
Okay.
We won't be allowed to restrict it to local firms. It has to be a wide open competition. That's a federal law, a federal requirement for this. But we will do everything. The federal requirements do require use of small businesses, minority-owned, veteran-owned. So there'll be categories in those, and we will work very diligently to get as many local suppliers and minority and women-owned firms as possible in that subcontractor range, possibly even the full contractor, depending on the bids.
But that project was estimated to be 12 million.
Correct.
So we kind of backed down to see how much we could get of federal funding. But there's
Yes.
been no design, there's been no estimating.
You're absolutely correct.
So,
Yes,
so we may have to value engineer that back down quite a
absolutely.
bit. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, just make sure that we don't let that get out of control.
You're
But,
right.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you, appreciate it.
Okay, any other questions? Do you have the voting cards up? Okay, we have 2 absent, so, but it does pass with a majority. Okay, very good. All right, item 21.
Item 21 is a funding agreement with Boley Centers for Permanent Supportive Housing. This agreement consolidates the original funding of 9 housing programs and additional programs from decision packages in 17, 18, and 19, 17, 19, and 20 into one comprehensive funding agreement. Overall, this provides 295 units by 2022.
Move approval.
Your second?
Oh, second.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Welch and second by Commissioner Peters, and I have to say, we are grateful for our many providers, but Boley especially is very special and creative. We appreciate it. Okay, again, we have 2 absent, but it passes with a majority. And we're moving on to agenda item 22.
Agenda item 22 is an interlocal agreement with the City of St. Petersburg for the Cross Bay Ferry Service. We had a presentation at the last meeting from the mayor.
Okay.
Move approval. I knew that was going to be interesting.
Uh-oh. I think we will
I
take it back.
I can second it to move it forward. So I'll second it.
You will second it?
Sure.
Well, I would prefer that the full board be here, so I'm going to take the privilege of taking a 5-minute break. And we'll come back.
Okay.
order. Going to agenda item 22. We had a motion by Commissioner Welch. I'd like to have a second, please.
Second.
Okay, second by Commissioner Long.
My second didn't count.
Is there any questions?
You had a second.
Okay, let's go ahead and bring up the voting. Okay,
Sorry.
we have everybody? Yep. It passes 4-2. Okay, thank you. Agenda item 23.
Agenda item 23 is a resolution to authorize late payment. This program is actually to extend the deadline for the original submittal of the projects under Penny 3, and extending that deadline out in time for people to be able to complete, communities to be able to complete those projects. So it extends the deadline out until reimbursable period to September 30th of 2021.
Okay, is there a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Move approval.
You move. Okay. Commissioner Jester, second.
Was there any common cause for the delay?
I would ask
There's-
Brian to speak to it. Obviously, there's, I'll just let him speak.
And there's also 3 mayors who may wish to address this as well.
Brian Loack, Assistant to the County Administrator. In response to the question, if you'll recall, the Penny 3 agreement with the Big C didn't go into effect until 2012, and those funds were mostly backloaded towards the end of Penny 3. So by the time they got projects started, it was running up to the deadline where we are now. The current agreement is set to expire at the end of next month, and most of them are pretty close to meeting that deadline, but to proceed with caution, at the city's request, we went ahead and extended it to accommodate all the projects.
Thank you. And you've got a spreadsheet that has explanations in that. I appreciate it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Is there a second? Oh, were you seconding it, Commissioner Welch?
I
thought you were
can
just
if we don't
asking a
have it.
question.
Mr.
I
Peters.
seconded.
Mr.
Okay.
Peters seconded it.
Commissioner
Okay.
Peters did.
Oh, Commissioner Peters seconded. If you could correct that, please. Sorry. And before we vote, mayors, do you wish to say anything?
Brian said it all. Yeah, he summarized it quite effectively.
Thank you for being here. Okay, we'll go ahead
Mayor
and vote
Black as
then.
well? No? Good.
Okay, passes unanimously. Okay, thank you for being here. We appreciate your leadership and our beaches. Okay, agenda item 24.
Agenda item 24 is a ratification of staff's electronic submittal of a grant application to the U.S. Department of Transportation. This is for the Deneen Causeway Bridge. The grant amount, if approved in full, would be $25 million of a potential $89 million project.
My only question about this is if it's going to be sort of like the Tampa Bay Innovation Center, I'm just going to say this, that if we apply for this and we receive it, then we're committed. So, in my opinion.
Well, that was kind of what I was asking at the meeting the other day. Obviously, the idea is to ultimately get to 20% or down to 20% for us of the total cost. At least that's what I've been hearing. So if we accept this, is there a time frame under which we have to use it or lose it? Now, you're saying that we're committed to that. And I just want to make sure.
Well, I mean, we're committed because we're making a local match, but I mean, what we learned through when we ask for federal monies is if we decide later that we don't want them, then that doesn't exactly position us well for future grant requests. So
Okay,
I'm
okay.
just kind
I
of
gotcha.
stating it up front that if this is the direction we're going in, then
Go ahead.
Ken Jacobs, the Transportation Department with Public Works. Actually, you're correct. We can, if we receive the approval for the grant, we can, there's still an opportunity to basically determine whether we want to proceed or not. That can reflect badly if you decide to determine that you can't go ahead and finish the project. But again, this is a funding situation where you're trying to accumulate a lot of different money from a lot of different areas. So if you did get this one, there's still an opportunity and a time frame where you can basically utilize that and still try and find additional partners, and that's what we would do. But they don't all line up nicely, so you have to start asking somewhere. So basically, that would be the first opportunity. But we are trying to get down to the 20% that Commissioner Eggers mentioned.
Do we have
Have
any?
we identified other funds?
We've
funding possibilities?
Yes, we've identified other possible stakeholders that we would approach if we did get the funding.
Sorry, Commissioner Eggers?
Yeah, well, I
Did
apologize.
I take the words right out of your mouth?
No, I apologize. I was just, that's kind of what I was looking for, just making sure that at the end of this process that we have that chance to go get other funding. But do we have any asks out right now? Are there any grant requests out right now?
Not at this point in time. There are cycles for several of those. This just happened to be the first one that came out, and we wanted to go ahead and put our project in. I don't know that it's in a finalized, ready to build to the point where they're going to look at it really favorable this time. But we wanted to, if nothing else, we still hope we can get it, but if nothing else, it puts the project into their area and they see it, and so next time, if we don't get it this time, we actually have a much better opportunity in future submittals.
Madam Chair?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important to remember that on these big projects, it takes forever to get through the pipeline, and you have to start somewhere.
Yes.
So, we know we're going to need to do something, right, on this project. So I guess I just don't understand the hesitancy. We know we're going to have to do something.
Well, you may recall that I voted against moving ahead on both the San Martin as well as the Dunedin Causeway, mainly because of climate change and other my rational reasons. And so I'm just trying to, because this came up under the Tampa Bay Innovation Center from some of you all, that, okay, we've got this grant, do we really still want to proceed? I just want to have clarity for everyone to understand what our options are. And that was why I asked the question.
I want to know who owns the bridge. I don't know who owns the bridge. Does the county own the bridge? City own the bridge? Who owns the bridge?
We do.
Yes.
It's the county bridge.
One of those rare instances that somehow we ended up owning the bridge.
Okay, and the city of Dunedin, because I see it's a partnership with the city of Dunedin, so they don't own any part of it?
The city of Dunedin wanted the Mid-Basque Bridge, which is the most expensive option. We've gone through presentations from them and from the Citizens Committee. So then we asked that they look at this from a, sea level rising and climate change perspective. They came back and showed us different views and maps of what would flood and what wouldn't flood. And so this was the next step, was the commission agreed to go ahead with these bridges, and both the San Martin as well as the Dunedin Causeway.
I have another question, too.
Where we are.
Follow-up question, because I missed all that. I wasn't here for all that. So has there been testing on that bridge to see its life expectancy? I know in Treasure Island they were at the point where there was no more, they couldn't have trucks going over it anymore. Now, I haven't been on that bridge, so I don't know it. But are we at the point that you can't have heavy vehicles on it? Is it collapsing? Is it so badly deteriorated that we don't have a choice? Or does it still have 25 years?
No, it's definitely past its useful life, its design life. The index that we use basically shows it at 48% out of 100, so it's definitely on the low side of need for repair. There are actual repair maintenance that we continue to perform on the bridge, so it needs to be replaced. One of the things that we brought back during the analysis we did for the PD&E was there is an alternative that is a $30 million rehab. So we could do a major rehab of the bridge, and so that kind of
25 years?
It'll last 25 years. So that puts you out there, but based on what we saw from the sea level rise study, if you did build the entire bridge, disregarding which one you built, whether it would be a mid-level, a low-level, or a fixed span high-level, it will be used for the entire life that we put out there. So there'll be something that is still above water on the other side of the bridge, even after based on that analysis. So the 25 years for a rehab gets you out there much further, but it doesn't cover the entire lifespan of a bridge. And then you would still have to do something after that, but that's still something that can be investigated.
Okay.
Any other questions? By the way, in the budget is just under $14 million for Penny for Pinellas. And so that's a really, right now, of the budget, 15.5%, not 20. Just, I mean,
the
I'm
caveat
just-
to that, yes, the caveat to that is that budget only goes out to 2026, and we anticipated.
Okay, so you didn't show,
Yes. The upcoming year
Sure,
after
here.
that, I believe we propose an additional 12 million.
okay.
Just one question.
Uh-huh.
So again, I just want to make sure I'm clear. If we submit for the grant, we get the grant January 1, how long do they usually hold for before they say, are you guys using this, or we're going to take it back?
Well, there's things that we need to do. We would probably, we still need to do a full design, or we still need to get into a
PD&E.
Well, the PD&E should be completed, but we still need, there's still steps that we need to take where we would actually be expending funds, but we wouldn't be to the point where we have to start construction. I would say you have at least a 2-year period, even if we got approved this time, to where we could find additional funds through different grants.
Okay, thank you.
If there's a motion and a second, I'll entertain that.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, a motion by Commissioner Egger, second by Commissioner Justice. Okay, passes 4-2. Moving on to agenda item 25.
Agenda item 25 is a lease agreement with the State of Florida with the Department of Administrative Hearings for space at the 501 building.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Welch, second by Commissioner Peters. Okay, passes unanimously. Moving on to agenda item 26.
Item 26 is a change order number 1 with the agreement with QRC Inc. For fiscal year 2018-19. This is for potable water and reclaimed water repair services.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Welch, second by Commissioner Eggers. Okay, that passes unanimously. Item 27.
Item 27 is first amendments to agreements with 14 firms for requirements of utility engineering consulting services. They're listed within this agreement, and they cover a period to August 8, 2021.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Eggers, second by Commissioner Welch. Okay, Okay, that passes unanimously. County Administrator miscellaneous?
I have nothing under miscellaneous, so I'll have another report later.
Okay, County Attorney?
Under item number 29, I am recommending the board approve the recommended action of staff as set forth in your confidential memorandum of today's date.
So moved.
Second.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Akers, who made the motion? Commissioner Welch, second by Commissioner Peters? Mhm. Concurring with the county attorney's recommendation. Okay, passes unanimously. Item 30.
Under item number 30, we are recommending that you authorize the county attorney to file suit in the referenced case. I would bring to your attention that this case would not be filed unless there is noncompliance as of September 3rd, which was the deadline given to the parties here by the Board of Adjustment and Appeals.
Move approval.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Peters, second by Commissioner Welch. Okay, that passes unanimously. Moving on to agenda item 32. Resource Pinellas.
I don't have anything.
Agenda item 32 is an appointment to the WorkNet Pinellas, CareerSource Pinellas Board of Directors. This is approval of the new local elected official appointment.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay.
Could we name the official, please?
This is for Joanne Latino, the school board. Motion by Commissioner Long, second by Commissioner Welch. Okay, that passes unanimously. Agenda item 33.
Agenda item 33 is an acceptance of CareerSource Pinellas Workforce Board of Directors recommendation for a contract with Jennifer Brackney in order to continue the services as the chief elected executive official.
Move approval.
Are you sure, Ms. Brackney? Second the motion.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Long, second by Commissioner Welch, and voting cards are up. Passes unanimously. Congratulations, and thank you for all you're doing. We appreciate it very much. Okay, agenda item 34 is appointment to the emergency medical, well, excuse me, go ahead.
What you said, appointment to the Emergency Medical Services Advisory Council, and this is an appointment of Ms. Becca
Tedder.
Peter.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Long, second by Commissioner Akers. I'm just trying to move this meeting along because I'm so freezing cold.
Seriously.
There's Andrew.
Oh, boy.
If I get any more clothes, I'll be suffocating.
Not that you're not moving it fast enough, Mr. Administrator, but. Okay, passes unanimously. 35, County Administrator reports.
Under 35, we have the a report on the Purple Heart Memorial unveiling. Obviously, the commissioners were there and took the lead, obviously, in announcing this and rolling this out. On August 7th, we observed the National Purple Heart Day, honoring the brave men and women wounded in combat. A new monument was dedicated to the Purple Heart Medal awardees, and the unveiling of the monument at the War Veterans Memorial Park in St. Petersburg. So we're proud to be designated as a Purple Heart County, which you did in 2017, and we have a video to capture that day.
Colors, chance, ho! Port, ho!
We are here to dedicate a new permanent monument that will pay tribute to what the Purple Heart Medal stands for and to recognize the heroes who have received this combat decoration.
And the hope of the brave.
Pinellas County was named a Purple Heart County in 2017. And we just find it to be very, very important for us to remember our veterans and our active military during the ceremony today.
This is such a momentous occasion
to be able to honor yet again Purple Heart recipients throughout our area. And I'm so proud to be a resident of Pinellas County and that we're a Purple Heart County. Thank you, County Commissioners, for the great work that you all have done. Really appreciate your service.
Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Pinellas County Board of County Commissioners that August 7th, 2019 be recognized as Purple Heart Day in Pinellas County.
Our main goal is to get veterans out of the house and active, and not just that, but reintegrated back into the community.
This is just a truly unbelievable day. People, I don't think, fully understand the significance of the dedications that we make to our veterans. It goes to the core of who we are, and so when people come to our county and experience our county and recognize this county puts veterans first, it says a whole lot about what we are all about.
To me personally, this just reinforces the reason why I live in this beautiful county. They are so greatly appreciative of the veterans, and I was welcomed home, and even the older generations now are being welcomed home, and they're making it, they're striving for it, and this monument just signifies that we came home to an appreciative nation.
Aim, fire!
Well, just knowing that you're going to be honored, you know, when you leave this earth, and knowing that the general public loves you and appreciates what you have done just makes you feel good about yourself and keeps you striving for more and to do better things in life.
God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Concludes my report.
Very nice, thank you. It really was a very special day, indeed. We are now on Citizens to be Heard. David Ballard Geddes.
Hi, good afternoon, Commissioners. David Ballard Geddes Jr. I live on Georgia Avenue in Palm Harbor. What constitutes a loaded gun? Is a canteen without water a loaded gun? Without water, you die. Is contaminated water a loaded gun? Is reclaimed water a loaded gun? Is our legislation aggregating the water resource deliberately, using water as a Second Amendment right, as a power among the earth, as declared? I question the airborne effect of irrigation as a delivery device, both chemically and biologically. If we are smelling reclaimed water, then we are breathing reclaimed water. If we are breathing reclaimed water, then we are ingesting reclaimed water directly into our bloodstream as we breathe. Hepatitis is the least of our worries. A cholera outbreak is not a survivable situation. Reclaimed water exposes us to and subjects us to such issues as I've stated, both chemically and biologically. As clearly stated on this reclaimed water variance application, it states that the applicant literally owes their health, their safety, and their religious convictions. This is a very serious issue I'm drawing questions to. The psychological makeup of our legislation, I call to question. Even further, in Maloney's Water Code, on page 164 and page 165, as based on the 14th Amendment, it clearly calls into question whether that the destruction of person and property is a legal, viable objective under the 14th Amendment in regards to our water supply. I think we have constitutional issues, and I do believe we have to talk about this. Thank you.
Lenore Faulkner.
Good afternoon, Commissioner Seal and your distinguished commission. God bless you in your work. I'm Lenore Faulkner from Madeira Beach. I find myself fighting for education excellence for all students, the poor and the needy, especially in your failure factories and middle schools. I've been a Florida educator for 52 years, graduating from the University of Florida in '67, certified in biology, chemistry, math, science, health education, middle schools, and the gifted, receiving excellent in every area by many principals. My allergy doctor finally wrote a letter to the school board for me to retire immediately due to the toxic conditions of Pinellas Park Middle. The school board has not responded yet to the letter. I speak at school board meetings since 2005. My last IMAS chemistry class was the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Buccaneers. Our room was covered with newspapers about the Super Bowl. This year's the 150th anniversary of college football. I actually took a train ride from the Naval Academy to Philadelphia on December 1st, 1945. I attended the 1945 Army-Navy Game 3. There were 102,000 in attendance. It was a month before I was born. The aviators arrived in '45. Dad, a Hellcat fighter pilot, in school in aeronautical engineering. He fought for public schools, not virtual schools or charter schools. I've been asked to be a science and math ambassador with the People to People to many countries. On April 21st, 2009, Paige Keeley sent me this letter. Dear Ms. Faulkner, as president of the National Science Teachers Association, I'm honored to have been selected as the leader to the science delegation to South Africa. I invite you to join me to participate in this important international exchange. This delegation, specializing in science education, will convene in South Africa in 2009. After I was sick, my son had a brain injury, declared brain dead at a hospital because he didn't have insurance. He went down to 110 pounds. My daughter's a social worker, realized he was in the Navy. He's been living at James A. Haley for 20 years. I ran out of money. I go over there 5 days a week. I hire someone to go over 3 days a week. Congressman Jolly got me a ride on the Bay Pines van. And I was a bagel lady at the Polytrauma Family Support Group. I go to all the Purple Heart ceremonies, and General Brown gave me his black card with 4 gold stars and said, if any veteran needs any help, please give me a call. I'm just sick about what's happening in education. After I had my bone marrow stem cell transplant in '99, I sat through the Columbine. I have not had a computer since 2004, and I haven't had a TV in 10 years. God bless all of you.
Mac Johnson, the second.
Thanks so much for this great privilege. And I was just sitting there thinking about what a wonderful county we have. Thank you guys for your hard work. But you know, as I listen and I observe, it appears to me that we just do not have enough of what real life is about in the picture. Now, there's a verse of scripture that says, except the Lord build the house, they that labor, labor in vain. Except he keep watch over the city, we're wasting time, according to God's word. I'm reminded of a time that there was a little boy that were sitting by this lake, and he had a jar of pennies and his fishing pole laid on the side of him. And this preacher came by and said, little boy, what are you doing? The little boy was just tossing pennies into the water, one by one. What are you doing, little boy? He said, I'm doing just like everybody else. I'm just sitting around throwing money away. Now, I want to say sometimes when you look at what we do, we need to make sure that if we're building anything, we need to make it be built about what life's about. Life's about God. God made it all. He put it all together. And if he was willing to die for all of us, the word says, we're all dead, and if any of us live, we're no longer to live unto our own self, but only unto him who died for us and rose again. You know, when you think about our kids, they're not getting foundation of life anymore. And what that means, they grow up and they don't understand, they're fearful, they don't have the power of life within them. Parents are not demonstrating it anymore because we've gotten so intelligent, it appears that we pushed him out and now we're running everything except the Lord build the county, our country. They that labor, we're laboring in vain. So what's my message to us today? As a citizen, I'm saying some way we got to begin putting Christ back into what we're doing. Otherwise, we're wasting our time. I'm reminded of a friend of mine about a week ago. This guy went, 53 years old, went into his bedroom and never came out alive, walking anymore. It's kind of like God give us one day at a time, and we're called to use that day to the glory of God. God made us, and we are to be his glory. And we're building everything and building him out. What am I saying? I'm saying to you as well as to me, let's put God back on the throne. I mean, let's begin putting him into the things we're doing in the county, in the city, in our country, and then watch the crime rate go down. It starts with us. God bless you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Greg Pound?
Thank you, Greg Pound, Largo, Florida. Since the beginning of time, it's always been a problem with leadership. You can study history. That's why the framers put in the Constitution this separation of power clause to keep us in some kind of check and balance for our leadership, those representing us in our country. Now, this morning, the Sheriff's Department came out and tried to make the insinuation about me speaking on the issue of not finding people guilty because of this present trial, of this shooting. Okay, so what happens, I believe your court system is somehow going to use me as your scapegoat. That told me right then and there, this guy's not going to be found guilty. He is not going to be found guilty, and that's how you're going to go out and you're going to snag a lot more of the African-American males into the prison system because they're going to react to this. They might not react all together on one day at a time, but there's going to be a payback, okay? And so that's what you're doing. We look at our leadership and we see the corruption and crime. How can police officers, a guy comes out of his house with a knife, you got 3 police officers out there with guns pointing at him, and they all shoot the guy. You couldn't have shot the guy one time to disarm him? You shot him how many times? Killed the guy? And he doesn't have a gun, but he's got a knife? That's what you call killing people who aren't armed. So my solution is the white people in America, they're doing all the shooting. You look at all the shootings going in this country. You need to disarm the white people like you did the African Americans and the Indians. Gun permits were never for white people. And before you destroy the whole country, disarm the whole country, and try to rape and rob the whole system, turn everybody into your slaves, you need to disarm the white people. They're the ones that are out of control. They're the killers. The women, if the women don't kill the babies, the white men molest them. And this is what we're dealing with now, is a white culture that's out of control, trying to hang on to power. They're being judged by the Creator. The judgment is not coming from man. The judgment's coming from above. And so that's why this Bible was given to us, and you spit in the Creator's face. He blessed his country, blessed the people in it, and what you're doing now is the gay pride parade, all white people. Were you down there and seen all those people down there? I I go down there and there was nothing but all white people down there with little children. And they should have been arrested and put in jail for indecent exposure, the way they're walking around in their nudity, like a bunch of perverts and child molesters. And what you got Robert Guattari. The problem with our problem is not putting The problem is getting the children back under their father's authority. The court system has raped the family. The biggest dollar in our court system in America is separating children from families. Read what the Bible says about separating the children from families. Look at Islam. They would never allow their children, the men would never allow you to take their children from them and separate them from them. Because once you get those men with their testosterone level and then you put a woman's character inside of them, you got some real crazy people out of control and they're running on their emotions. They're not functioning on reason. And so when you separate the children from their fathers, that's what you've got. You've got people out of control, and you're doing it. Our leaders are doing it to us.
Agenda item 37 is county commission business, and one is appointments to the Parks and Conservation Resources. There's two action items here. One is my appointment, which will be Brian Scott as my individual commissioner appointment, since I can't make a motion.
Move approval. Second.
Okay, Commissioner Eggers and Commissioner Justice is a second. Thank you. And Brian's with us in the audience. Thank you.
Hey, Brian.
Oops. Okay, thank you very much. That passes unanimously. And then I have ballots to pass out for, we need to choose 2 environmental science
Only
candidates.
2 are eligible, correct? Is that right?
And if you'll remember to sign your ballot. It's highlighted that some do not meet the qualifications.
There's 3.
Okay, and while we're, Claritha has one more meeting with us.
Yes.
So I thought I'd mention that. While she's compiling that, we'll go on to County Commission new business items. So I don't know of any items that were to come up today. Then we'll move on to the County Commission board reports and miscellaneous items. Commissioner Welch.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's been a while. Good to be back. Thanks for all the healing vibes. Of course, that excludes Commissioner Justice, who just harassed me. But it's good to be back. One meeting was the BTS board did meet last week. And as some of us might remember, we had a big initiative a few years ago that moved us off the mainframe. And we've got another big initiative coming up in a few years that'll probably move us to the next level of technology and moving to the cloud more fully for our Opus or Opus replacement. So one thing that we did with the support of OBAC, I see Mr. Berger back there, and of course Claritha in one of her last decisions, OBAC recommended that we change our Oracle support going forward, and that's going to save us about $1 million a year. They're on a pretty tight timetable. By the end of January, they hope to have this third-party support in place. So that's a big move, and to me, it's just as important as when we move from the mainframe. So, Claritha, thank you for all your work. We're going to miss you. And of course, Mr. Berger, thank you as well, and the rest of the OBAC committee. The second thing, and this happened a few weeks ago, but I haven't been in a meeting since, if Pete can cue this up. I attended a Habitat home celebration, and this one was just very noteworthy. This gentleman is Mr. Mark Moore, and at the age of 20, Mark adopted 5 of his nieces and nephews, and he's a bus driver for the Pinellas County Schools, and it was a wonderful celebration, and this young man is just the model of what true manhood is. His nieces and nephews, his children now, are Anicia, Rihanna, Gerard, Jafari, and Jamarian. And they did it almost like HGTV, where I forget the name of the show, I watch it all the time, where they have the picture of the old house in front and then they move it. Well, they had a picture of the lot on a big truck, and the kids came up, they didn't know they had a new house. And they moved the truck, and there was the house. It just was a great celebration. Pete, can you show the next slide? And that's them going to their new house. So I just wanted to, again, thank Mr. Moore for everything that he does and the example that he sets, and of course, Habitat and all the neighbors. And I do want to say that this Habitat project was led by Hunks with Hammers, and that's a group of gentlemen. A couple of us are bigger gentlemen, so we call ourselves Chunks with Hammers. But they did a great job, and Habitat is just one of the great things about our community. And on that note, Madam Chair, that's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us. That's pretty inspirational. Commissioner Peters.
Thank you. There are a couple things. First, I went to Beckwith Electric. I know you were there for their ribbon cutting for their new building, and it's really exciting to have this manufacturing company that's homegrown right here in Pinellas County that's doing amazing things, and they got an incredible contract, and they're gonna pretty much double their size and their employees, and it's really a great opportunity for high-paying jobs. For people that don't necessarily have to go to college. They've already hired almost 30, and they've got at least 20 more that'll be hired soon. And they're just growing exponentially, and they produce extremely important components to the electrical grid that will keep from electrical fires and for short circuits and things like that. So it's really, really important to our infrastructure, what they're doing, but it's really great. How they're expanding, and that they only use products made in the United States, and I think it's a really cool company that we have right in Pinellas County. So many blessings to them. Also, I attended the Health and Human Services Committee, and at that committee, aside from a presentation on vaping and how vaping is exploding among our youth, and how incredibly dangerous it is for the health of our youth for using the Juuls and the other vaping tools. I mentioned, and I've also talked to the medical examiner about looking at benzos, antidepressants, and antipsychotic medication, because when we look at suicides, if somebody does a suicide on an overdose, we do a toxicology on it, but if they commit suicide with a gun or hanging, we never do a toxicology report to see if, in fact, those antidepressants, which have warning signs that may cause suicidal tendencies, we're not doing a panel on those to see if, in fact, those are playing a key role into the high rate of suicides that Pinellas County is experiencing. So I would really like, if not that committee, to look into it, if the county would consider and the medical examiner would consider doing that panel on those suicides to give us better clarity on maybe what might be the underlying cause of some of the suicides that are going on in Pinellas County. Also, I was really proud to have here Eckerd Project Bridge brought some youth, and it's a diversion program, and they brought some youth here and attended the BTS meeting. And those kids are really doing great things, and they're given a second chance, and they're really making a difference, and leaders have emerged in that. And so thank you to Jeff Roars with BTS and with Pete Brosny in communication. They gave him a tour and answered a lot of questions and gave him some really great advice, so it was really wonderful. I thank them for taking time out of their really busy schedule to meet with some youth. I met with the behavioral health folks. I know they met with all of you. I think they met with all of you before they met with me. And I kind of gave them some clarification. Evidently, they didn't watch our budget meeting to see what we were willing to spend money on. And so they're going to kind of maybe relook at their focus on the proposal they all talked to you about. But now they have clarity, so I think that's good, and it'll help them with the direction of which they want to go for the future and what kind of plan they think is best for Pinellas County. Also, just a reminder that the YAC, or the Youth Advisory Council's open house is Wednesday, the 28th, and that applications are due by August 31st. We've really tried to get out there and promote it, not only with the schools, but with all the local government. I've seen it on the Nextdoor. Some of the local governments are putting it on Nextdoor. So if you know any youth that might be interested in participating in it, make sure they get their applications in by the 31st. And before I move on, I've been watching the pollution notifications, and all you know my history and some of the sewer overflows in the county. And, you know, I know we're doing a good job, and we're really trying hard, and your task force that you put together has done a really good job. But over this last week, so far Pinellas County has had 13 reports on overflows, 6 in July, 13 in August, most of them last week. We had a lot of rain last week. All the cities that have had trouble before and all the cities that have consent decrees are also having overflows. And I just want to make sure that as long as we're having, and the county's handled it really well. I'm reading the reports. They're doing the tankering when they need to do the tankering. But I just want to make sure it's kind of brought to your attention on quality improvement, that when we have these overflows, that we're really looking at what do we have to do, and do we have to move something up on the timeline to make sure that we're not having sewage into our waterways. And, you know, I can't control other cities. I made enough noise with one city, and they had significantly fewer overflows, but it's something that I'm always going to watch, and I'm going to bring it up when we have significant overflows. And this week was no exception. So 13 in the last week, I think. And there's more coming out every day. And today there were significant that came out of DEP with the reports. So I just want to, you know, bring it up and make sure. I know we got great staff. We're doing great things. South Cross is having some problems. I know we're going to put money and invest over there. But if there's things that we can do to mitigate prior or move it up or just always CQI, I'd appreciate it. Thanks.
Commissioner Justice.
Thank you very much. Not much to report. I do want to share the Tampa Bay Estuary Program as our 2-year State of the Bay report. A lot of good information. One of the things we said that we wanted to do is better communicate to the folks in the community about what we do. We printed a handful of these. It's available online as well, and I'll send that link to you, but a lot of good information in there. Only other thing is really I wanted to congratulate the East Lake Fire District, which was named Florida's 2019 District of the Year by the Association of Special Districts. So congratulations to Chief Jameson and his team. Thank you.
Okay, great. Commissioner Eggers.
Yeah, most of the boards and committees either don't meet this month or they're coming up in the next week or so. We did have a Tampa Bay Water meeting yesterday.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah. Well, before I just touch on that point, I just wanted to say that we tackled the South Central Hillsborough County anticipated water shortage by providing a booster station. So that was a positive vote, and everybody supported it, and everybody was on board with it. Florida-friendly landscaping, it was a unanimous approval as well. Demand management implementation, there was just a status report, and we also had a status report on the two feasibility studies that are going to be done for our surface water plant expansion and the desal plant expansion options in our long-range master plan. So a lot of good things happened. We had a water quality update. Most of the members of the group feel, you know, they're meeting monthly and having some good dialogue on the issues that are important to each of the counties, and they're all a little bit different, and we're still working towards some solutions there. We found out that the year-end financial picture is good. Obviously, I think I talked about the rates will stay the same. It's probably the ninth straight year that's been the case. We also have some additional monies at the end that we'll probably be putting into our financial, they call it a rate stabilization fund, so that the board can use it for any number of things. One of the areas is in the mid to late 2020s, there'll be a need for some additional capital, and so we want to try to minimize that by building these funds up. We probably will be able to do that. So a lot of good things that happened, a lot of good discussion. Unfortunately, we started the meeting talking about I guess the TAP project and what our roles are and what we should be doing, what we shouldn't be doing. There was some drama by one of the council members from Tampa, always is very dramatic. I'm not quite sure all the time what he says, but he's pretty dramatic. And then we had some discussion from one of the Hillsborough County Commissioners talking about water wars. Again, I think trying to be dramatic because really, for the most part, that board and that group has done great work for the last 20 years. When there are issues that we've had problems with, we kind of get together and hash them out. Have been in the same rowboat. We may not always be rowing in the same direction, but we're at least in the same rowboat. So I think the mayor from Newport Richey challenged the group to start working together a little bit. I challenged them about trying to be part of the solution instead of part of the problem, which is pretty normal. I think there's a lot of good things. Actually, the director or the general manager got favorable reviews from probably 5, 2 that were okay and 1 that was not good. But so he was, given the fact that what he's gone through the last 2 years, 3 years, I think people felt like he's done pretty good considering all of the issues of the day. So I think when all was said and done, the folks that wanted to be dramatic were dramatic, and the folks that brought reason to the table had a good meeting, and all of us had a good meeting, and I think it was probably more positive than the article led on. So, but in short, we continue to do the things that you've given us direction to do, or at least Commissioner Peters and I are doing that. Just a couple personal things. First of all, I did want to commend staff for their Purple Heart celebration. I think they did a great job from the creation of the location to the performance of the day, so to speak. And so I think they did a great job. Thank you for marketing and communications for the work that they did out there. At Palm Harbor, their chamber had a trustee lunch, and Advent Health was there, and it was a session just to highlight their service to the community and the kinds of work that they're doing. The old Hal Ellis Hospital and the issues that they had over time have been totally turned around. This is a great group. It's a nationwide hospital, and they have presence in several cities throughout the state, really stepping up their work in Tarpon Springs and in Pinellas County. So great work that they're doing. Oldsmar Legislative, the chamber there had a legislative lunch at a senator, 4 representatives, a Hillsborough County commissioner, and myself. And most of the questions were directed at the state, and some of them are on home rule, and some of them were on the bed and breakfast and what latitudes that the state has given them. But all in all, it was a good meeting. And then just a couple things. I continue to go around with Nancy McKibben to introduce to folks in the North County, and she's just doing a great job up there, and people are really very excited about that new position and really taking it in well. And we'll have another, I guess, session with about 6 people on Friday. So we continue to meet people up there for her. 2 final things. Obviously, I had a little, communications had a little blurb at the Purple Heart to ask me to do something in Spanish. And obviously, since it didn't make the cut, and since my trip to Honduras pointed out that I needed a lot of help in Spanish, I have enrolled back at St. Pete College for a Spanish class. And my first class was actually yesterday. The difficulty was the language on how to do work online, because obviously when I was in school 30 years ago, we didn't do online stuff. So there's a whole different language, credits, and all kinds of stuff to get on and do homework. And so I'm trying to learn that part. The Spanish part will be probably easier than that. But I'm excited about that, and it's kind of neat to be back on campus. It was a night class, so the demographics were across the board, and so it was really exciting. And finally, I just wanted to say happy birthday to my wife. I won't say how many years, because I do want to come home and have dinner tonight. And but she's a wonderful gal and a great mom and a great aunt and a great wife. And I just wanted to say happy birthday. Thank you.
Commissioner Long.
Yeah, excuse me, Madam Chair, thank you. My report's pretty brief. On the Tampa Bay Area Regional Transit Authority, we're knee-deep in developing our legislative strategy for next year. And we have a board meeting this Friday coming up, a finance committee meeting and a legislative committee meeting. So we're putting our budget together, and the good news is we have money, which is refreshing for that particular group. Our next board meeting for PSTA is next Wednesday, so I'll see you there, David and Charlie. Forward Pinellas has no August meeting. I did have a wonderful experience, and if you haven't done it yet, I do encourage you to go over and visit Judge Farnell in her drug court. It was absolutely fascinating. Lourdes and Daisy and Jim Fogarty were there as well, and she has an amazing gift, the way she deals with the young men and women that come into her courtroom, and it's just was very rewarding to just see the way in which lives were being turned around from, bad experiences to good ones. There's a State of Transportation panel this Thursday at Tampa International with Brad Miller, David Green, and Ben Limmer on a panel. That should be kind of interesting. And I thought you would be interested in a meeting that I had very recently with Dr. Cho from our health department. And the issue that we discussed was the incredible spike in teenage suicide. And we've heard Commissioner Eggers' concern about that. But there was one part of the conversation that for some reason I thought was very profound. I'd never really thought about it before. And we were focusing on not so much the mental health issues that we've talked here a lot about, but on what kinds of methodologies or strategies could we use to prevent and or to identify young people that have a proclivity to having mental health issues as they get older. And he talked about the 10 questions that would lead you to be able to identify a young person. And do you ever think about the fact that when our kids start school, they have to have a physical in order to start school? And here's the thing, unless you play sports when you get into high school or some kind of an athletic thing, you are never required again to have a health exam in the school system. And we were talking about what it might look like if when a child gets to the 5th grade and begins middle school, if there was some kind of a requirement for some evaluation of that student in terms of how they're adjusting and how they're growing. And I don't remember exactly the verbiage that he used, but, if you think about it and you think of some of the telltale signs, little kids will tell you everything if you just ask the right questions. It's just amazing. And so I thought that was an interesting thing for us to think about and maybe talk about a little bit and see if that might be a possibility. And he indicated that there was a House bill last...
Dr. Cho?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
there was,
talked with him about
he
it.
said you did. There was a House bill last session that addressed the issue of trying to see if we couldn't put in place a requirement for additional physicals in the school. When a child gets to be maybe middle school, that seemed to be a cutoff point where you could begin to identify some problem areas. And it died for a lack of a companion in the Senate. But as we carried on with our conversation, it became evident to both of us that we do have someone in our delegation who's very passionate about this issue and would be a primary sponsor for a Senate bill. And I thought maybe there might be a possibility to put it on a legislative ask on our side that we talk about going into session. when we meet with our legislators. Just an idea.
I think before
We
you do
actually
that, you should look at other reasons. Like I said, if they're taking medication that the side effect says may cause suicidal tendencies, and any doctor can prescribe these drugs, and pediatricians are prescribing them on a regular basis, and I believe, and I don't have the research to prove it, but I believe just like we had a pill mill problem with opiates, I believe we have a problem with antidepressants and antipsychotic medication where you have doctors that are not proficient in this, and you have pharmaceuticals that are given kickbacks to prescribe them. And I think if you do the data and those studies, you'll find that there may be a lot more to it than just that.
Of course, and I'm not suggesting that it's a solution to every problem, Commissioner Peters. What I'm saying is it could be a tool in the toolbox, along with a lot of the other things that we look at or talk about. And it's just a beginning. I mean, we can't keep on doing what we've always been doing. And along with that assessment, I would imagine, you determine if a child had all kinds of prescriptions that they were taking. I don't know. I just wanted to let you know that very interesting conversation. It's worth further dialogue, I think.
Yeah. So kind of follow up on that, I met with Brian Loack, and I know he was meeting with each of you, and I asked him to research this House bill to see what's, and I have a copy of it, but basically what it does is it calls for a wellness exam.
Yeah, that's right. That's what he
and
called
for
it.
everybody going into middle school, because that's when the immunizations are done, and you have to show proof of that. And so it would, have a mental health screening component with it, and every child would be screened, whether they're going to public or private school, unless they have a religious exemption. So I would like to see that on our agenda. I also brought it up at the Health and Human Services Leadership Board meeting last week, or the week before, because we had a mental health presentation as well as vaping, which Commissioner Peters mentioned, and asked the school, since there are school board members there, it's like, well, the other option is that you could start to do vision, eye screening, and do some dental already. It's like, why not go ahead and do some kind of screening, but you have to be careful that it doesn't carry a stigma
No, you
with
do,
it,
of course.
But
But what was the feedback that you got from the Health and Human Services group?
It was all over the board.
It wasn't, yeah.
Was
There
it?
wasn't a recommendation that came out of it.
It was just, I asked if we could do some more research on it and do some more advocacy and, kind of decide how this could be framed and done. I like the idea of the wellness exam and the requirement that everybody go through it, because it could catch a whole lot of different things, not just mental health, but it could capture physical problems. Or
we at the Florida Healthy Kids board meeting, we had this a couple of weeks ago. I had a couple of doctors that were their pediatricians that were actually talking about this, and what they find then in their own practice is that they try to do some of this informal screening during any kind of checkup. They have a real hard time figuring out where to plug in, that what's next, because they didn't, in these cases, they didn't want to do the medication stuff that you were talking about, Commissioner Peters, but they didn't know where to go with it. In other words, okay, so
you mean if they screen somebody
we
and they
screen
found
it and they have a problem, now what?
Oh my goodness, that's an easy.
Well, no, it wasn't. In
No, it's
practical
not.
terms, it was not easy for them. Because
No, I mean, education should be easy to be able
you
to
can,
let
you can then
know.
pass along the education,
Yeah.
but it's trying to get the person that's sitting in front of you that may have
to
some.
get them connected and get them going for help.
Yeah.
Well, think about it.
So-
The child you're talking about is between 11 and 12, between 10 and 12. That's the age where you go into middle school. So.
However, the average age in which signs and symptoms start is 14 to 25. So entry of high school would be more common sense, more applicable than middle school, because the average age is somewhere between 14 and 25. And if you're doing 10 to 12, you know, you're not touching when the average signs and symptoms become. And we're talking schizophrenia. I'm not talking behavioral health issues, which a lot of the stuff we're doing in the early ages is hitting behavioral health or behavior management versus mental health.
Mental. Yeah.
So there's a difference between behavioral management and mental health. And so if the average is 14 to 25, I don't see why we would do it at 10 to 12.
That's what we kind of got into a little discussion about at the Health and Human Services Leadership Board is, you know, at what age, what kind of screenings, you know, what are you looking for, et cetera. So I'm sure we will work towards some good solution, but, and it may be one piece at a time, so.
I just thought it was worthy of a conversation.
It is, obviously.
Anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, you actually covered what I covered, so we're going to cover. So with that, we are, Claretha?
Yes, the appointments to the Parks and Conservation Resources Advisory Board are Lindsay Cross and Manita Moultrie.
Lindsay Cross and who?
Manita Moultrie.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you. All right, then we are adjourned until the evening meeting at 6 o'clock.